5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
Yeah, I'll do that for good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. That was our Susan there. She forgot to put a mic on. Good evening, everybody. I can see we got PJ and Andy707 already in the chat room waiting for us.
Yeah.
Nice to see you in again. When that
I can't get it off.
When that little banner goes, you'll notice that Mr. Christopher is not with us at the moment. He's on his way. He's running a little bit late. He had to go somewhere today. So when they do get here, you will hear our little Roxy going nuts, barking away. Well, tonight we've got Joanne Summerscales, founder and director of A.M.M.A.C.H, plus Mike Smith, a lifetime experiencer, and author as well.
I hate to say this, but I'm going to have to restart this. It's being a pain.
It's not behaving itself.
No,
is it?
Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, we will be back with you after this short message.
There we go. Right, if you've just joined us, sorry about that. Problems with live stream again. God, I don't know.
Be glad when we can upgrade it.
If we can upgrade it.
Oh, we will eventually.
Yeah, sometime. Right, okay, well, as you can see, Chris is not here at the moment. He's running a bit late, and as Steve said, that if the dog will go nuts.
Yeah, okay. Roxy will bark her head off when he gets here.
Yes, PJ, Gremlin's in tonight. I think they've been in for the past couple of weeks. So, but I don't know. Right.
Anyway, we're having a few problems, but all's right with the world. So
yeah, hopefully.
Let us move on.
Yes.
Where are we going?
Now, as I say, we said hello to a few people in the chat room. We've got quite a few people watching. So why don't you come in and join us? I know Andy's there because I don't know what happened, but it seemed to clear the chat as well for some reason. But Andy707's there and PJ's there. Okay, so I don't know who else is there, but come in the chat room and say hello. All you've got to do is just put your name in. No signing up, and join in the chat room and the show. Yeah,
and then you'll be able to ask live questions to our guests.
Yes, you will do. Right, before we go any further, I need to say a hi to somebody.
Go on in.
Right, okay. I need to say hi to Chris M.A.C.H. He's in London, and when I was checking the YouTube radio replays, as we like to call them, I had a comment there. He said, please say a shout out to me on the show because he listens on the replay.
A regular listener on the replay.
Yes, so Chris M.A.C.H. in London, thank you for listening, and maybe we'll catch you live one day. Hey.
Yeah, please do, Chris.
So
so speaking of YouTube, they seem to be a bit confused as to whether we're an actual
radio show,
proper radio station. So if you listened into it, this one, let me tell you that there goes Roxy, because Chris has just arrived. That we are not a proper radio station as such. We're good evening. Yes,
evening, Chris.
We're just here to put the paranormal first and discuss all issues, and hopefully share some views.
We were just saying, Chris, there's a guy that listens on the YouTube every week, and he wanted to say hi.
Hey,
so he's in London.
Yeah, Chris M.A.C.H. Chris M.A.C.H. asked for a shout out, so there you go.
So and Steve was saying that we're not sure how the YouTube listeners perceive us. because
Yeah, some of them seem to think we're
a professional show.
a professional radio station.
You know what I mean? And
You are.
no, I know. Don't lie to them.
No, they're not. Honestly,
No, it's just something we do, isn't it? Yeah. So it's just
we just try and promote discussion in the paranormal and learn a few things at the same time.
Constantly learning. We're all learning.
We're not a commercial radio as such. We're just a bunch of people that like trying to put the word out there.
That's right. And good evening, everybody. I apologise for my lateness, my late arrival.
Your tardiness.
Tardiness. I've just come back from near Luton, but I'm here.
That would be, if memory serves me right, Junction 7 on the M1. Luton and Dunstable.
Somewhere down that way.
That's all right. I used to live in Luton.
So,
Luton Airport.
No, I used to work at Luton Airport.
Who are you?
Yeah,
who are you? So,
yes, the England team used to fly out there quite regularly.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know whether they still do.
Could be flying back soon, but never mind. That's another story.
Last night. Yeah.
Now, be fair, we may have lost, but we did play reasonably well.
I don't know.
Well, I didn't watch it. So.
Well, anyway, tonight. Do you remember what's on tonight?
UFOs.
Apparently, 1 in 3 of us believes we've seen a UFO, while 1 in 25 of us believe we have been abducted by aliens at some point.
I've seen UFO. If you go on the UFO reporting centre, the UFO reporting centre, whatever the .co, whatever it is, you'll see a story on there by A.M.M.A.C.H. from a recent story from last year.
Well, apparently we're talking abductees tonight. We're going to get Joanne Summerscales on.
And contactees.
And Joanne Summerscales. She's the founder of the A.M.A.C.H, which stands for Anomalous Mind Management Abductee Contactee Helpline. So,
can you say that backwards?
No.
And then Swahili.
Helpline, contact, abductee, management, mind, anomalous, ashito hueste, fuerte, o secte, onkete.
This is just for your abroad listeners, by the way.
You go for it.
Can I just say to our listeners out there on YouTube, it's an off-the-cuff show. There's no script. Is there, Chris?
That's what makes it fun, live, and real.
Who needs a script? Who needs a script?
Yeah, it's just a bit of a fun show, but we like to get people on.
PJ just said that's easy for you to say.
Yeah.
It shows that the realism that we are people, just like those people.
We are not a robot.
Oh, well, I don't know. I seem to have an American accent come out of me here, and I don't know why that's come from there, Steve. I think it's because I've been near Luton.
Nah.
Nah. If you,
it's a lovely place where I've just been, but they kind of talk like, yeah.
If you'd have been,
that's Manchester.
Yeah.
If you'd have been at Luton Airport, then it would have sounded like Rain Chase.
Well, I wasn't. Well, I would have. Yeah, I wasn't quite at Luton. I was on my way to Luton
Airport.
But I ended up not at Luton. I ended up at Tamworth.
I believe you got the questions for tonight, my dear.
I'm going to pass them to you.
Oh, so God, you would.
So, hello there, PJ, Andy707. And
there's quite a few listening, but there's not a few in the chat room.
And everybody out there who's not in the chat room, come on into the chat room. Don't be shy. We're here to talk. But hello to you anyway from the HGPF.
Seeing as you guys were late, I will go and make.
Do I forfeit my pair drop?
No.
I've not had any tea today or anything.
No, you won't forfeit your pair drop, but I will go and make you a drink.
Okay. Do you want me to sing paranormal songs?
Yes, go for it.
A
no.
stands for anomalous. B.
Well, while you're gone, actually, we can have Emma doing the observations. Okay, Emma?
Okay, I'll just get it up. Yeah. Okay, first one. The women who believe a past life is to blame for their ailments, and why doctors are so worried about the hypnotists who claim to cure them. Sherry Jenner believes her crippling migraines were due to an eye injury in a past life. Jane Russell says past life regression therapy cured her of a psoriasis caused by burns in her life as a man in the 1900s. Experts warn the therapy could be dangerous for some. They believe that patients are really experiencing forgotten memories. Once a month for the past 27 years, Sherry Jenner suffered a blinding migraine. Each time they struck, the 64-year-old would endure 3 days of searing pain behind her right eye. leaving her unable to do anything other than lie in a darkened room. No wonder then, having spent the last 3 months in pain-free, after trying every treatment available, she retired the retired medical receptionist from Horsham, Surrey, can't rave enough about her miracle cure. But rather than a cutting-edge medical procedure or super-strength painkiller, Sherry, a grandmother of 2, believes that the key to solving her health problem was something altogether more unusual, but past-life regression therapy. This involved being hypnotized to recover what therapists believe are subconscious memories of past lives or incarnations. The idea we've all been here before sounds to many of us far-fetched, as an episode of Star Trek, and scientists scoff at the notion. But exponents of past-life regression therapy believe that accessing our different lives from previous eras is not only possible, but also could hold the key to solving the problems we experience in this life. Recently, an increasing number of hypnotists who specialise in regression have started to market their therapies as cures for physical ailments, including migraines, skin complaints, and IBS. These, they claim, are a manifestation of our subconscious, holding on to traumas we experience in other lives, and as such we can be helped to let them go. There are currently thousands of past life therapists in this country, and although many are trained hypnotherapists, no formal qualification is required. Anyone can claim to be a regression therapist. Sherry went to see Nicholas Ajula, a London-based regression therapist, after spotting an advert for an open day during which migraine sufferers were offered a free trial of the treatment, which usually costs $150 for up to 2.5 hours. And it worked for her. I did see this in the week, and I think it's a really interesting idea. I mean, if it works, who are we to say, don't do it?
Yeah.
As long as people go for the medical treatment that, they're supposed to, if it's really serious, I don't see anything wrong with it, to be honest.
You've got to be open to all aspects of possibilities.
Well, even if you are accessing either a past memory or a trauma that's been sort of in your mind, reimagined as a past life, if you're dealing with it and it helps you,
yeah,
each to their own.
Well, what's good for some isn't good for other people, so it doesn't mean people who say it doesn't work are probably people who didn't benefit from it, when the people are that benefit from things. So,
yeah.
Well, trial and error, isn't it?
Andy707 said, this is all true except the past life stuff. Past lives are a metaphor for early life traumas.
Yeah, I can agree with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I can see the logic in that.
Yeah.
But
I must have had trauma in a past life because I was a worm.
Was you?
Yeah, I was
How
trodden
do you know
on.
it was your worm?
Because I was trodden on.
Was you?
Yeah, I lost my head twice. Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Quickly, Emma,
Yeah,
quickly.
Okay, a German village in the Namib deserts. It's one thing to happen upon a deserted town, but it's another thing entirely when it's an abandoned German-style mining village in the Namib deserts. Urban explorers and adventurers are making their way to Colemanskop, I don't know if I'm saying that right, an old diamond mining town that was deserted in 1954 and is now filled with sand and supposedly haunted spirits. Colemanskop, uniquely European architecture, makes its hospital, casino and theatre stand out amid the Namibian desert sand. While it's debatable how haunted Colemanskop is, one thing is for sure: due to the climate of the desert, this village won't be disappearing anytime soon.
Okay.
Yeah, and the next one. Okay. Oldest living man and paranormal expert dies at 111 years old. Alexander A.M.M.A.C.H, who was recently declared the oldest living man, died on Sunday in New York at the age of 111, according to reports. Quoted as saying, "In my life I have witnessed the development of flight, the automobile, electrification of nations, telephone, the radio and television, atomic energy, the wonders of bioscientific medicine, computer technology, great advances in our knowledge of the cosmos, men walking on the moon, the list could go on and on." A.M.M.A.C.H said at the age of 99, according to a recent profile on him on chabad.org. Born February the 4th, 1903 in Poland, A.M.M.A.C.H and his wife, Wella, fled the country in 1939 when the Nazis took over. In Russia, they refused Soviet citizenship and were sent to Gulag, according to New York Times. When he emerged from the camp after World War II, A.M.M.A.C.H learned that many of his family members had perished in the Holocaust. The couple emigrated to the United States in 1951. A.M.M.A.C.H became the oldest living man on April 24th, when Arturo Licata of Italy died a little more than a week before his 112th birthday. A.M.A.C.H told Guinness World Records that his motto is that one should always pursue what one loves and is passionate about. For A.M.A.C.H, that passion was the paranormal. In 1995, at the age of 92, he published a book on the subject called The Incredible Tales of the Paranormal, documented accounts of poltergeists, levitations, phantoms, and other phenomena. A.M.A.C.H had a collection of forks and spoons that he said had been bent using the power of mind, and also known as macro-psychokinesis. I watched ordinary people doing that, he told the Times. A.M.A.C.H, who had a doctorate degree in chemistry and spoke 5 languages, even tried to persuade his fellow scientists that the soul survives the death of the body. And what did a psychic researcher, who became the world's oldest man in April, spend his final hours doing? What else than trying to communicate in Polish and Russian with spirits he sensed around him, a friend says.
There you go.
Okay.
A paranormal researcher to the end.
I love that. Canadian scientists have proven that the Ouija boards have mysterious properties, according to Take a Break's Fate and Fortune magazine of July 2004 edition. I think it's predated. Usually it's a month. They do it a month in advance, don't they?
They do,
Who wrote
yeah.
that story? Waddington.
So it is July, don't worry. In their spooky science section, they reported that scientists investigating Ouija boards have come up with some fascinating findings. Researchers at the University of British Columbia, Canada, sat 2 blindfolded participants down at a board and asked them to place their fingers on a glass. Unbeknownst to one of them, their partner was asked to silently leave the room. The remaining person was then asked a series of questions which had previously been unable to answer. Strangely, when asked the questions again, they were able to answer them via the board. Student Ashwin Krishnamurti, who took part, said, "I thought the other person was trying to move the glass, but he wasn't, because he'd actually left the room. Proof that Ouija messages could really be coming from the spirit world? Well, we'd like to think so. Proof more like Take a Break either didn't read the study properly or misinterpreted it so that it would please their readers who by large believe in ghosts, psychics, crystal healing, witchcraft and other similar fringe beliefs. Have UBC really proven that Ouija boards communicate with ghosts? No, probably not, but their research suggests something even cooler. A feature on the UBC research in the Smithsonian magazine reveals what actually takes place in the study, as well as providing an interesting insight into Ouija, while the Inner Intel project run by the UBC Visual Cognition Lab describes the research on their website as follows. Ouija has long been advertised as a means to communicate with the supernatural, which may be an easy misconception. The movements Ouija boards make have been studied in the past by psychologists and are classified scientifically as idiometer movements. This is the phenomenon we investigate at the lab in order to see whether a connection between these involuntary movements and our subconscious really does exist. In the abstract of their published research, the UBC researchers explained that they were studying whether ideomotor actions could help participants express non-conscious knowledge. The abstract goes on to explain. Okay. Oh, I found this one interesting.
Yeah, can I just say on that one? I'm actually more inclined to believe that instead of spirits coming through the board, as advertised, so to speak, that it is actually our subconscious that's making the link to. I don't mean we're actually cheating. I mean, it's our subconscious that's making the supposed link to spirit.
Yeah, I think so too. It's the same with pendulums, dowsing rods, anything like that. I think it's the micro movements.
Anything that's manipulatable.
I mean, you can still say it's a supernatural or paranormal thing, because maybe you're getting in contact with your intuition or your higher self, depending on what you believe, or it could just be your subconscious coming through.
Paranormal could be different to different people.
Yeah.
All the paranormal means, really, isn't it, is above normal. It doesn't necessarily mean ghosts and spirits, but to somebody who's experiencing something that's above their normal range, it'd be paranormal to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I asked the question to someone who was who said the likes of dowsing and stuff was absolute rubbish, that it was just us doing it, and apart from proving that it's impossible to stop a pendulum dead without touching it, I said to him, well, you're saying that it's not spirit. Who's to say that it's not actually spirit that's making us move it.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. I mean, if you've got, it's your energy. So if you have, asking spirit to come in, and what we tend to do is look at spiritual energy in the room, trying to move that glass. But maybe, the possibility it might need a frame of reference by using us like a vessel to move that glass. So it, like you just said, its energy with our energy, you get this involuntary movement and to move the glass. Type of,
Yeah, and considering all energy is the same. Why do we think that spiritual energy is something separate, something different?
Well, I don't think they are separate. Different. I think, like they say, we all come from the same place. We all go to the same place.
But when people are searching for this and trying to find it, it's like them and us. We're investigators. Their spiritual energy, but so are we, aren't we? We just have a physical body to go with it.
The thing that most people get with that is that they get deluded and they get blinded by the concept that we've got life, and because we've got life, we've got the maneuverability and able-bodiedness, we forget about the spirit within, and we're obviously, and then because what we're looking for doesn't technically have life as we understand it, so therefore we'd see that as spirit. So we tend to, or a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people would put the spirit side of the person themselves out the agenda because we can do this, we're living, we can do that. Anything else, it's got to be spirit. And if that spirit's there, even though in deceased form, must still be alive to a degree. If it's able to move something, communicate. If it can communicate, therefore it must be some form of life, maybe, even though it's afterlife.
Well, we'll get back to this one later.
Yeah.
Go on, Emma.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
It's all right.
I heard about this one in the week, and I thought, 9-foot great white shark eaten by unknown sea creature. Gizmodo's James Baker's highlights Smithsonian story of a tagged 9-foot great white shark whose electronic tag washed up on the beach. When scientists checked the data, they discovered a terrifying sequence of events. The tag had been dragged 1,900 feet below the surface, then eaten, achieving a temperature of 78 Fahrenheit, 32 Fahrenheit higher than a great white shark's normal body temperature. So this raises a reasonable question. What could possibly eat a 9-foot great white shark? Conventional wisdom would suggest that it was an orca obliviously gobbling up the tag while foraging for shark livers. They're large enough, typically 2 to 3 times the size of the missing shark, and they have a well-documented history of hunting great white sharks. But the trouble with this theory is, as far as we know, orcas never go that deep. They typically stay near the surface, with the deepest recorded dive measuring 180 feet under controlled conditions. So if this was an orca, we have a new record. Another possibility raised by the several Gizmodo commenters said that the shark itself got attacked or killed near the surface of the water, dislodging the tag, which was then separated from the shark, dragged underwater and eaten. The problem with this theory is that the great white sharks are laminoid sharks, which means that their body temperature tends to run slightly warmer than the surrounding water. If the tag or the surrounding tissue had been removed from the shark before it was consumed, the tag would have been presumably recorded an abrupt temperature drop prior to the temperature increase. It didn't. Something dragged the 9-foot, still living shark more than a third of a mile underwater, then ate the tag.
Well, how about a prehistoric 20-foot animal? Because we know dinosaurs are no longer living on dry land, but meteorite, to our knowledge, at the present time, they don't exist.
Around where I live.
Well, that's because they're old people. But a meteorite wouldn't necessarily affect the oceans, would it?
No.
I mean, I know parts of it froze and parts of it didn't, and everything else because of it. But you'd still have living dinosaurs under the water.
Well, they're still discovering sea creatures that they're, unknown creatures down there.
It's really
all the time.
weird-looking animals down there.
It's one of the biggest undiscovered territories.
Well, they say we know a bit more about space and what we do about the ocean.
It's the same as Antarctica. If you was to defrost Antarctica or whatever,
please don't do that.
The things you find.
We'll end up being a seaside town in Manchester. and I couldn't be doing with that.
How many more you got, Emma?
I think I'm on the last one.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Is that my favourite one?
The Dracula one.
Yes, somebody sent that to me during the week.
That's something to get your teeth into, isn't it?
Because of our connection with Transylvania.
Okay, researchers finally discover Dracula's grave. Stock up on garlic and holy water because Estonian researchers think they have discovered the final resting place of the world's most famous vampire, and they're asking permission to crack open the tomb. Vlad Tepes III was known for ruling the 15th century Eastern Europe with a bloody fist, earning the nickname the Impaler for his pioneering work in the art of torture. His bag of terrifying tricks, including strangulation, burning, cutting off noses, ears, mutilation of sexual organs, scalping, skinning, exposure to the elements or to wild animals, and boiling alive. But his favourite method of punishment was, obviously, impaling his enemies on giant stakes outside of the city, a warning to anyone who dared to challenge his rule. His gruesome tactics, coupled with a pervasive rumour that Vlad drank the blood of his enemies, has long been thought to be the inspiration for Bram Stoker's 1897 novel Dracula. While Vlad's reign of terror is well documented, no one could ever figure out exactly what happened to him. In 1476, the Impaler suddenly disappeared during battle, never to return. Many sources claim that Vlad was killed, but a few reports mention the notorious ruler being hauled away in chains. Now, a group of researchers believe that Vlad was ransomed to his daughter, who had married a Neapolitan nobleman, and lived out the rest of his days in Naples, Italy, where he was buried in a church. Erica Stella, a student who was writing her dissertation on Naples' Piazza Santa Maria la Nuova Church, uncovered a curious headstone that experts are saying belongs to Dracula himself. Raffaello Glimni, not sure if I got that right, a medieval history scholar, noticed that the tomb was covered in symbols representing the house of the Transylvanian Carpathians, something very out of place in a crypt full of Italian noblemen. When you're looking at the bas-relief sculptures, the symbolism is obvious. The dragon means Dracula, and the two opposing sphinxes represent the city of Thebes, also known as Tepes. In these symbols, the very name of the Count Dracula Tepes is written, Glimni told reporters. So naturally, the researchers are appealing to the authorities for permission to open the grave, releasing Dracula from his ancient slumber, where he will reinstate his bloody reign of terror on an unsuspecting world. Or, maybe just prove their hunch. But honestly, is it really worth the risk?
Oh
well.
Legend has it with him.
We'll see.
Yes, it's worth the risk.
I can see a film coming.
Legend had it, didn't he? They say that he used to get bowls, like soup bowls, and it contained the blood that would run down the poles, and they'd give it to all the people set out at a breakfast table and things like that, and he'd give them all bread, and he'd make them all sit there, and it'd contain the blood of the people that he impaled.
Test of loyalty.
Yeah, because he used to throw them over in the morning before breakfast, and children on poles and all that. He's like he must have invented the kebab or something. I don't know, but and chili sauce, because it's spine chili sauce. But yeah, and that's what he used to do. And also, legend says that he was supposed to he rode off on his horse, and he was beheaded. And his body was found apparently, but his head never was. Apparently, so there's all sorts of
there's different stories around.
I mean, the gravesite that in Romania that's supposed to have been in, when they opened it up, they found animal bones in it, and not human. I'm into the drinking blood of your enemy. That's not so far fetched if you think about it. The tribes of in Africa used to do it all the time. Yeah. You take their strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, it serves multi-purposes. Somebody like Vlad would want to strike fear into the hearts of those who opposed him, and obviously to continue his rule. If he showed a sign and a weakness, he wouldn't, his reign, it would have just ended.
Well, propaganda is a powerful thing, isn't it? He didn't even have to do it. He just needed people to think.
And in them days as well.
I don't actually think he did drink the blood, to be honest.
Right. He may not have.
I mean, I don't doubt that he tortured them the way he did, but I don't think the drinking of blood was part of it.
We'll go back to that story later that everyone wanted to talk about, so probably come back and do a discussion on that. Okay, Emma, if you remember which one it was. Right, okay, I'm going to play this advert before we start, and then I should get hold of Joanne. She does prefer to be called Joanne, Okay, and just to let you know, although you have the right to reply, we will not tolerate any profanity or disrespectful behaviour. Please remember to be respectful to our guests and listeners, and no unrelated spam or links to the show currently on air. Please remember that these people have this, we've got to respect their own beliefs and everything. Okay, and
it is a highly emotive question tonight.
Yes, it could be. Right, okay, so we'll just play this.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
Yeah, that was the ghost store. Right, okay. Joanne is on the line. Good evening, Joanne.
Hello there.
Welcome to the KTPF Community Talk Show. Nice to have you on. It was a request from one of our listeners because they saw you on this morning, which is why I contacted you. Unfortunately, I missed it. So it's not a program I normally watch.
Well, no.
But thank you for coming on. As I say, I don't think Mike's been able to get in to listen to the show. He hasn't given me a message yet, so I might have to ring him in a minute because he wants to hear exactly what's being said.
I've just spoken to him, and he said he can't get it. And also, I was just emailing you or sending you a message. I can't seem to get your live link either. I don't know where the access. I'm sure it's really
you're getting a lot of noise coming back there. Have you got the speakers up?
Let me have a look. Let me turn technical a bit. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a bit better, as long as you can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you fine. If it gets to be a problem, I'll bang on some headphones, but I just don't have a hand at the moment.
That's fine. Okay. So he can't hear, can he? Did you say?
No, he for some reason, we've done other shows before and he hasn't been able to access it. Normally I can, but I don't know where your link is to listen.
My link is on www.ktpf.co.uk.
No, I've got that up. I got that far.
Yeah, and you've just pressed the play button, so because you should be able to see the chat room there as well.
Where is the play button?
Scroll down.
If you scroll down, it should be there. You'll see
the home page. Is that somewhere else, or
no? It's on the home page.
It is.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, can you tell us a bit about yourself first, Joanne?
Yeah, sure. Briefly, my background it's pretty ordinary. I trained in theatre, performing arts, that kind of thing, and did some retraining down the line. I have sort of two main streams of interest, and education's a very strong one, and so is health and wellness. So early on, way before sort of I did much research into the field I'm in now, I did a lot in complementary healthcare. Used to put on exhibitions, conferences over a 5-year period down in the Hastings area with some colleagues to introduce people to different concepts about health and wellness. And I'm still passionately interested in that. And that feeds in now to my work with A.M.A.C.H because, health and wellness is an issue for contactees and abductees. So it's quite important. Anyway, so once I sort of came through that educational process, that was interesting, but I realised that I, was really wanting to do something more organisational and on the production side. So anyway, that kind of led naturally, eventually, into A.M.A.C.H developing, but not without me having done quite a bit in, various freelance jobs in TV and in the early years, doing front-end stuff, so text generation, picture generation, that kind of thing. I had my own video company for a little while. I did some work with the late Sir Peter Guy Manners on cymatics, that kind of thing. And so I've always been putting stuff out there. I worked with a little bit with Andrew Johnson, who's done so much work on things like the Mars anomaly, 9/11 with Judy Wood, called ET-TV, which is out there. And they're just little vignettes. And basically it's trying to provide sort of bite-sized pieces of information for people who are new to all of this kind of material, just to give a bit of a flavour and a handle. And then once I focused in on the A.M.A.C.H side of things, which is really, it's a resource and a support group or network that I'm developing still. It's only 3 years old, called A.M.A.C.H, which means, which comes from Anomalous Mind Management, Abductee, Contactee, Helpline. It's a project. And it's an ongoing project. And although it's specifically based in the UK, I've had loads of contacts from other parts of the world, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
So all the work that I've done is really feeding into A.M.A.C.H, and also I'm trained for what it's worth, but it gives people an idea of where I've come from and kind of what I'm familiar with. I sat in Circle for about 5 years, so I have to say I didn't learn much after the first 2. And sitting in Circle is psychic development in London, at the main place of Belgrave Square, Spiritualist Association. I'm not a spiritualist, I'm not any religious denomination or anything, but a spiritual orientation really. But also then I went on to train with Harry Oldfield with electrocrystal therapy as well, as I know things have changed now. Done a lot of work on energy medicine and research on that, and also trained in what I now is distilled down to what I call integrated visualization therapy. And that is definitely helping and coming into play with the A.M.A.C.H work as well, in giving people some other resources, using ourselves as the first port of call, as a tool, as a base for helping.
Okay.
Hi, Joanne.
I'm sorry?
Can you hear Steve? Say it again.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Joanne.
Hello, Steve. Sorry.
That's okay. Can you explain what you mean by mind management?
Yes, of course. Clearly, from the abductee's perspective, there has been a lot of manipulation of their perception of what's happened to them. For example, with Mike Smith, very good example, and I know we'll be speaking to Mike in a minute, or you will. Mike didn't even realise, and had zero knowledge that he'd been a lifelong abductee stroke contactee from a child, at least 10 years and maybe earlier, but definitely 10 years. And so it was only at 43 years old that he had this phenomenal download experience, which from my researchers really plays out a bit like a near-death experience, where he saw cinematically his entire life from early years to that point. And he saw all those abductions, including the ones that happened when he was in the military. Very, very interesting. So what I mean by the mind management is there is some mind control. There's some, I don't know whether you'd call it brainwashing. I don't know if it's specifically that, but it's definitely management of our perceptions, how we're perceiving things. And also, what is it that triggered Mike? And he's not alone in this, by the way. There are many people who at a certain point of their life have somehow some trigger, and we don't know what those triggers are. It can be, they could be doing washing up and suddenly, woof, there we go, memories start flooding back, or they begin the process of kick-starting them. So we see that there has been a lot of management, and we're trying to get to the backstory of where that leads and what that's about. And it's not just ET or ED, meaning extra-dimensional, or whoever these others are, who are clearly masters at the art of interfacing with humanity, because they can do it with such stealth, such incredible technology, that we are hard pushed to even believe it ourselves. So that's how good it is. And clearly, the military and other branches of services dealing with mind control, which we know are embedded in things like MK Ultra, and I'm sure some UK stuff, have used so many techniques. And we see something called MILAM, which is military abductions, or sometimes called reabs, military reabductions, because it seems to be that some people are being abducted again by military. There is some of this, to see, it seems, what they know about what ET have been doing or communicating. So it's a whole big field, this anomalous mind management, and I call it anomalous because we still really don't understand. We haven't got to grips with all of that, but I think that we will, in the not too distant future, perhaps have some breakthroughs with what this is meaning. I know that there's a lot of people on the case looking into this field, so I'm hoping that there will be some breakthrough and we will know more and be much more cognizant of what's happening to us. And hopefully, what I really hope is that we can actually become more of a team. There is consensual agreement and we agree to help whoever, because clearly, although these others are incredibly advanced technologically, there is something very special about humanity. And whether it's our spiritual, emotional bodies, whether it's some other facet, I don't know. But clearly, our genetics are of great interest, and so are our souls. So it's a journey of discovery. And what I really try and facilitate is a lot of people come forward and are in a lot of distress or some certain feelings of dissociation from their world, their society, and are in fear of speaking about what's happened to them because of the fear of ridicule, the stigma of potential mental health issues. If they've got a family, having their children from them because they have the temerity to actually mention this kind of thing. And that was what I mentioned actually on the This Morning program. I said the impact on these people's lives is as profound as anybody else who's had a very traumatic experience like rape or some other brutalization. And it's a horrible example to use, but it is as impacting. So we need to be compassionate and kind and open, is my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've got Mike on the line. Mike, can you hear us okay? Are you there, Mike?
Hello there, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Just making sure you can hear okay. I'm not sure about whether you can actually hear Joanne.
I can just about. It's very difficult.
Yeah, okay. So
I can just about hear her.
So you're one of these abductees, aren't you? Oh, dear.
Sorry.
You're one of these abductees, aren't you, Mike? You're a life experiencer.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Now, you've been going through this for quite some time, but Joanne was telling me that before the show, during emails, that it was something you never believed in.
No. I was completely, I don't know how to put it, really. I was really against it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if anybody came up with the ideas of, UFOs or, poltergeists.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I
would really take the mick.
Right, yeah.
I would be the first one to say, what you've been drinking.
Yeah.
And what sort of mushrooms grow in your area.
Yeah.
That was my attitude before this thing happened to me that downloaded all my life.
Yeah.
Showed me what I'd missed. What I'd actually forgotten completely. Missed. Right. And that was my whole life, not just the abductions, that was my whole life.
Yeah.
I lost my whole life before 43.
Yeah.
My whole life, in my memory, hardly any.
Right. Well, sit tight, Mike. We'll come back and hear about some of your experiences. We've just given them a little bit of a taster, okay?
Right, thanks, dear.
Cheers. Right, so Joanne, basically, going back to the beginning, you started this with Miles Johnson.
I actually brought Miles in. I started it, and it was just for clarity. This is my project, which I started.
Right, okay.
I brought Miles in to do the tech side for the filming and whatever.
Right, okay. Basically, what was your initial aims with all this?
It was really, because the thing is, Suzanne, there's nothing in the UK that really addressed this very specific niche area. And, as a researcher and a therapist myself, I was very interested in looking at the human condition more and trying to understand what these people were going through. And I began to do a lot more research myself. And then I met a contactee called Sixto Paswell, a Peruvian gentleman. And he was very different as a contactee, and he talked about the spiritual development and the influx of the positive spiritual energies from these wonderful others who were helping to guide him and really educate him. And I was hearing different stories from some of these other abductees, and the difference being is that a contactee is a consensual agreement, consensual meeting, hookup, if you like, and whereas an abductee, it says what it is. You know, it's an abduction.
Yeah.
And we normally don't consent to being abducted. You know, you'd use another word.
Yeah.
So it was really to explore this and to create a platform, and really, I'd actually started it 6 months before, and I hadn't spoken to Miles Johnston or anybody else. Well, I'd spoken to somebody in the exopolitics field about it before, and I was just going to keep it very local to the area. And they actually said, well, no, I said, you need to make this national. And I didn't move on it for 6 months, although I developed an email and all the rest of that and began to do the infrastructure. I knew that there was something missing, and what the missing thing was I needed to give these people not only a voice, but they needed to be able to tell their own story. I can tell a story for them, and you know, that's fine. But I think there's nothing like hearing it from the person themselves. I think that gives great credence to the human being and the human story, and I'm there as support. So I began to do. That's why I asked, you know, Miles. I knew he'd been doing a lot of video work, you know, himself. So that's why I brought him in.
Yeah.
And you know, we began our, you know, the work then. So as you know, and then it's really just snowballed from there. And I was really surprised. No one was more surprised than I am as to the incredible recent coverage that A.M.A.C.H has got. It's absolutely extraordinary. There was a conference just a couple of weekends ago in Hastings that I put on, and we actually had 2 journalists there, one from the Wall Street Journal, and he's still to put his article together, and there was another one from the International Business Times Online. They'd already actually done an article in April, but they came to actually hear the conference for themselves, so they could then report on it. And, you know, considering it's kind of mainstream out there, it wasn't too bad, because you can't expect full acceptance of the subject at the moment. It seems still until there's a little bit more information out there in the field and some more research done. And that's what we're looking for. You know, we're really hoping that people will come on board. And you know, I do this in my spare time. This is my passion, but it isn't funded. I fund also a helpline, which people can use either to text or leave a voicemail or speak to me or a Skype, whatever, to tell me whatever it is they want to share. So we hope that, again, perhaps like yourselves, the community, people listening to this will value it and, you know, help us stay alive and donate.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you know, it won't be around next year maybe. So anyway, I'm putting on a series of kind of educational, exploratory workshops, which is going to help bring this field much more strongly into our purview, if you like. And I'm starting a series called the Regression and Discovery Workshops, which will be regular, starting something like the 28th, it will be the 28th of June, so just a couple of weeks' time, and will be ongoing. And we'll see just how that works, because this is a wonderful opportunity for people to, and it's open to anyone, to explore not only their own humanity and consciousness and you know, where that fits in with all of this, but also it's discovery, it's looking at latest research, and it's looking at some of the old stuff as well and where all that fits in. So there's a lot of work to be done, and that is being done in this field. It's really exciting.
Okay. Joanne?
Sorry, yes?
Yes. I read that you do counselling and that. Is that just while you're doing the interviews, or is that ongoing?
Really, to be honest, the counselling side of it is an outcome of setting up A.M.A.C.H. You know, I've done quite a lot of therapeutic work in the past, and this just absolutely feeds in. So, of course, you know, part of what when people come through, as I said before, sometimes they're quite unsure or distressed or nervous, because most people, because they don't know me and they don't know necessarily A.M.A.C.H or this field at all, and they're very nervous about really opening up about what they've been through, because, as I said before, it's very impacting and it's deeply, deeply personal. Yeah. So what people go through is incredibly, a lot of it is to do with genetic material being taken as well as other things. But, and that can be very tricky to talk about. So you do have to have a very wide remit and a broad base of understanding of humanity's experiences to, I think, facilitate this. So counselling has definitely become a part of it. And you know what is the most important part is listening.
Yeah. Well, we're going to...
And valuing.
Chris has got a question. We've got Chris here for you. And then we'll speak to Mike and see what he's experienced. And then we'll come back to you. So, Chris, do you want to ask Joanne a question?
Hi, Joanne. How are you doing? All right?
Hello. Hi there, Chris.
Great stuff. I just thought it's very interesting. It's just a question I just want to ask, because, it's something, it's interesting to a lot of people out there. There's things that I've experienced myself on that, maybe that type of level. I'm not saying that I've been abducted or anything, but obviously there's different scenarios. But where there's people that have reported, maybe being abducted or something on that level, what would your insights be to maybe the people who have possibly been abducted, but they have no recollection of being abducted at any stage in any course of their life, but at later stages in their life they found artifacts implanted within the body that seem to be, have no concept to anything that we have in the known world. Like little metal implants that are found in the head, or little pieces of metal that might be inside the body somewhere, where surgeons have found these things.
Yes. So what are you asking, Chris? Are you asking
your concepts on such? If you have you dealt with anybody on that level?
Interestingly enough, just today and yesterday, I'm dealing with somebody who's actually sent me some footage, and if they allow me to go public with that, I'll share that down the line.
Right.
But as they were, and I just asked a bit of background about people's, where they are, what's happened to them, and maybe if there are any unusual events in their history. And this person has definitely ticked quite a lot of boxes from some of the things that you were mentioning, and it may not be an implant issue, but and they have no memory and no knowledge, and definitely say they're not a researcher or anything like that, and have really not come into this subject at all with any interest, but because of some footage they've taken, it's promoted some interest. I'm sorry I'm being a bit vague, but basically what it is that they have described quite a lot of things in their life which indicate to me that they are quite likely to have been an experiencer. They are not aware of that. So after I've done a little bit more research with them and seen where they are, I will then also talk to them about that possibility. Just to come into that side again, Chris, of we're lacking tools. What I'm trying to say is, we're also lacking tools in this field to discern the actuality of things. And one of the bodies who spoke at the conference were the biolocation team. Now, these guys are amazing. They've been working for 10 or 20 years doing forensic dowsing. This is testable, repeatable systems using dowsing. And what they have found is that they're picking up ET all over the place in ancient sites in antiquity in the UK and elsewhere. Now, they have taken their research further. They have then been looking at whether they can test people as abductees, contactees, this kind of thing. And you know what? They've done that, and they've demonstrated that. And they've demonstrated that at the conference as well. These would be an amazing to have in your show as well. They are phenomenal. So they are doing some incredible research. They've got a retired physicist on their team as well, who's just said, gosh, if I'd had this when I was working, that would have saved me a lot of time.
Yeah.
So just to pull that back into your question about, whether it's real for them, all people's experiences at some level of consciousness is absolutely valid and real for them at that point. And I think this is all feeding into the aggregate level of consciousness of where we are. And it's phenomenal the amount of people that are coming forward at the moment with these experiences. last year, I don't know whether you're aware, but Channel 4 did a bit of a hatchet job on the A.M.A.C.H project.
Right.
For which I suffered greatly. But anyway, also as a byproduct of that, I had about 300 emails within a month or just under a month. And I thought it was going to be a real, kind of slaughter, but it wasn't. It was absolutely the opposite, which I was really pleased but astonished about. And nearly everyone was saying, thank you for being the one to put your head above the parapet. This really needs to be brought out into the mainstream. Sorry, my dog's got a squeaky toy. I don't know if you can hear that. Sorry, just decided to play with it. They said, I don't feel, the mass of them said, I don't feel so alone. And the isolation that people can feel is enormous. And I've spoken to people who've lost their families, their businesses, all kinds of things because of their unusual experiences and the fact that they've shared it. So we as a species, as human beings, we need to be humankind. And I'm emphasising the kind. We need to open our hearts and minds to it, just even allow that this could be a possibility. And even if it's not a possibility for you, let it be a possibility for them, and let's not isolate these folks, because listen, these guys are at the coalface, these guys and girls, of interfacing with beings, I think, that are, have genetically engineered us to a great degree, and we actually need to pay attention because they know stuff. That's why I'm speaking to them, because they know stuff, and I want to know what they know. I want to know where this is taking us. We're on a fantastic journey. It's really exciting, but we need to bring a lot more awareness into the field before we can perhaps move very much further.
Exactly.
Because, we do.
There's so many people out there who claim to have these stories on the same level of alien abductions and disappearing, like Travis Walton, Travis Walton, the Fire in the Sky, when he was with his colleagues in the woods, and he disappeared. Was it about 5 days later he reappeared naked in like a doorway, sort of goes down under street level or something, and apparently no recollection of what had happened to him. But I mean, there's that many people that walk around in everyday life. Everybody walks around in everyday life, but maybe some of these people was put under some form of hypnosis. They might uncover certain things that we never knew, or they never knew. There may be a lot more people out there who might have had experiences as such, say, but we're just unaware of these things.
I think it's a vast number. I really do. I really think that it's far higher than we have any idea of, because yonks ago, I can't remember how long ago it was, but I think it was David Jacobs, Bud Hopkins, and I can't remember if it was somebody else as well, did a poll. This is, quite a while ago. And they thought that, maybe one in every, I don't know, let's say 2% at a conservative estimate of Americans might be abductees. But if you take that out, that's a good few million. And if you take that out over the planet, that's a lot of millions.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is much bigger and much wider ranging than at the moment we give it credence for. And we have to, I honestly think, for us to progress, to be empowered to come out of the ridiculous scenarios that the Illuminati lot are leading us into, we have to become more aware and also be willing to participate in our own lives in a more active way, and in our communities in a way that shows this compassion, because that is really, whilst we have great possibilities of communication and faster speeds of it, we're becoming less and less communicative in a real way. And what crazy thing is that?
Exactly. Thank you very much, Joanne, for answering them questions for me. I'll put you back over.
Right. Okay. We're going to get Mike on the show. Good evening, Mike. Welcome back.
Good evening again, Sue.
Okay. Now, you're a life experiencer, aren't you? As we said. Now, and you didn't really believe in any of this until
no, not at all. Connie died now.
Until you had something called a download. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, that's what we call it, a download.
Right. I believe it's a near-death experience.
It's like I don't know what a near-death experience is, really. I haven't had one, so...
Right.
It felt like I was given my whole memory back in seconds.
Yeah.
And I saw every minute of it. It really strange. It's hard to explain. Even though it felt like sex. It gave me everything back from the time I was a child.
Yeah.
It just threw back in a memory. I had a thought, and with what's happened to me, I've had this all my life.
Yeah.
And I'm still about as wise as you. That's how I can explain it in one way.
Right.
But when I start thinking about it and thinking out things, as you do, because when you see something strange, I mean, I've seen strange things all my life. When you've seen strange things, your mind has to try and cope with it. So you think it out.
Yeah.
Thinking, what could it be? What could it be? Like Sherlock Holmes. What could it be? What could it be? And my feeling about that was that when I was a child, I believed that something entered me. And it left me when I was 43. But it had to give me my memory back so I could carry on with life.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. I'm not saying it's true.
No.
I'm not saying it's true. It's like everything. It's like everything we're talking about now.
Yeah.
We're not in understand it. None of us.
Yeah.
None of us are intelligent enough. These beings that are, well, the beings I'm talking about, the beings you talk about as well.
Yeah.
Of course, the whole of the paranormal is all linked together with dimensions. Completely with dimensions. When I've travelled through dimensions with these, I've seen the dimensions change from a sort of 40-year change. That's one of the, like a 40-year change from about 1983, which on one occasion. I went back to the 40s, the road did, and the cars did.
Yeah.
And I had a strange experience at the same time where I came from nowhere in a car with a wooden back, and they stared at me in disbelief because the vehicle that I would have been in would have been space age to them. So I believe they came through the dimension because what happens is UFOs are travelling through dimensions. That's how they get here. They don't have to travel 10 billion miles. They bend the universe and get here through dimensions. So what's happening is, as they're coming through, they're dragging the past through with them as they're travelling through. It's like you end up with a ghost from 100 years before as they come through the dimensions.
Yeah.
Through with them sometimes. And that's why we've got ghosts and things like that. Ghosts and
yeah. So can you take us through how it all started? You know, how you felt and what actually happened?
On what occasion, though, are you asking me?
On your first time.
Full of occasions. I don't know which one you're talking about.
On your first time, Mike.
When you first
realised.
Oh, when I first realised. Yeah. Well, I'm a musician. Well, I was. Still am. But I've retired. I was playing around the Portmatic area. I came over the Berwyn Mountain, where there was a crash, which I didn't know enough. I still know nothing about it now. It was actually near enough to the same spot, in fact, when I looked. It's within 3 miles anyway. You can see both spots from where both things happened. As I was coming over, I had something like an orange fried egg.
Yeah.
Following the contours of the ground. I was in an old Volvo, and the front of the Volvo, it's got a very long bonnet on it. This is the 343. No, it wasn't. It was the 240. It's got a great big long bonnet. It was really black. It was very dark blue. And this orange fried egg I'm talking about, I could see it actually. It was above me, and I could actually see it spinning on my bonnet. The reflection of it was spinning on my bonnet. Next thing I know, I'm 26 miles further down the road. Me and Joanne checked this when we did a field trip out there to see, to show her the places and get photos and stuff. I'd lost 26 miles, which I didn't really know until me and Joanne did the book, And I completely, after 26 miles, I completely forgot what I'd just seen and what had just happened. Completely forgot it. Then I got home, and I was living in a bungalow, and my equipment, which I use for the night, the amplifiers, I left them in my car. I always always take my guitar out because it's expensive and take that in the house. And I lock my car in the garage. Well, as I went to put my car away in the garage, in front of me, you're talking 2 o'clock in the morning, this is. In front of me is like this 300-foot high, black, ice-cream cone with all little sparkles all over it. Looked like, I called it a crystal chandelier.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a musician and the crystal chandelier, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of relate to songs sometimes. And I watched this for about 10, maybe 15, 20. I don't exactly remember how long.
Yeah.
I got bored looking at it. And I thought it was a projection from a fair or something, you know. They were testing something. Projection from a fair or something. I didn't think, it's a big UFO. Well, hello, aliens, you know. Because I don't believe in them.
No.
And I watched it for about 10, 15 minutes. I thought, this is boring. So I went in the house. And then as I got in the house, I sort of looked at the wall. I'm going to have to cut these stories short because I'm going to be here all night.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm going to have to cut them short. I looked at the wall, looked at the TV. 3 faces come on the TV. Next thing I know, I'm getting this massive download into my head. Just complete and utter download of all my life. I'm walking around the room. I won't tell you what I was saying because, you know, there might be somebody out there that don't like swearing. You know, and I was walking around going, you know, like my head was going.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've been abducted. What? No, that's not true. This is not right. This is not me. I'm one of the loonies now. I'm a complete loony now. I'm now believing I've been abducted. Now I'm a lunatic. Now I'm one of them. And that's how I felt. I'm one of them.
Mm.
I'm one of these people that believe they've been abducted, and I'm a nutcase. And I actually believed for years that I was a nutcase.
Mm.
Seriously. I actually thought I've got a mental disorder. You know. Then when I started checking back into it, when my sort of senses started to come back a little bit,
yeah.
and I look back, now I've looked for 20 years, and I've seen that it is absolutely, to me, personally, and I think I'm probably the hardest one to convince. It's true. And it's completely true. And everything, my brother tried to tell me, my cousin tried to tell me, they're both dead. The guy that was with me on one abduction in the army, 2 abductions in the army, sorry, that we know about, he's been in a room for 40 years. He won't come out of that room. He's gone completely mad. And that was my mate in the army. Gone completely mad. He won't even talk to me. He won't talk to anybody.
No.
You know, he won't answer the phone. He won't answer the door. You have to feed him. You know, he's complete loon. Complete loony, you know. But he knew it was happening and I didn't. He was telling me it was happening and I didn't believe him.
Yeah.
And my brother was telling it was happening to us and I didn't believe him either. When he died, he had me thrown out the hospital. Before he died, he knew he was dying. He got about it. And he had me thrown out the hospital by the security staff because he believed I was one of them.
Mm.
And it was my fault that he was disabled.
We've got a question in the chat room for you. Can you tell what exactly you were seeing in the download?
43 years of life.
Yeah, right, okay. So if you missed it, Andy.
43 years of everything that happened to me in my life.
Yeah. So it's a bit like your life flashing before your eyes, sort of.
In a way, yeah, that's why I think you talked about like a death experience.
That would be really scary seeing all that.
That's what you meant by like a wheel rolling in front.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't see it that way. I actually can't explain how I saw it.
Wouldn't you be reliving events?
It's really weird. I can't explain how I saw it.
So Chris is saying you'd be like reliving events, wouldn't you?
I actually relived every event in seconds.
Yeah.
So that you would have
I actually relived them. I mean, it wasn't like a memory. It was like reliving.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like I was giving my life back.
So, Joanne's just said that you've just about finished your biography called 43, based on your life experience.
That's right, yeah. I mean, as I was saying to you before, Suzanne, in an hour, I couldn't tell you anything.
No.
My life has been a very, very strange life. Not only the alien stuff, the stuff that you look into as well. I've got a lot of that in there that's followed me all my life.
Yeah.
I've had some horrific experiences with the other side. What you might call the other side. I don't know what you call it, actually.
Yeah.
But you are into Ghostbusters, aren't you?
Yes.
That type of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Paranormal?
Paranormal, basically.
Paranormal
investigating, you know. So, basically, yeah, the other side, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose we're both talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
It's another side of life that most people... It's there, but for some unknown reason, they can't see. I wonder, people like us, I don't know what you've seen, but people who see things, I wonder if we slightly move into a different dimension to see those things.
Yeah.
Because people around us are not seeing what we're seeing sometimes. So are we slipping into a dimension? Because when I saw reptiles, they seemed to come from nowhere. They just walked in from nowhere. There was no porthole like you see on the TV. There was no window. There was no glass. There was no. They just appeared just out of nowhere. One at a time. Sort of 4 of them in front of my eyes. Well, 2 actually. 2 had already come through. I should imagine they come through the way the other 2 come through. The last 2 I saw. So some people are not seeing. I don't understand that.
Right. Andy says the archetypal life flashing before your eyes. But what are you actually seeing? Normal life or inside of a spaceship or dimensions? Is it just your life flashing before your eyes?
I can't understand how to answer that. I saw everything.
Right. You didn't see inside a spaceship or anything?
Yeah, of course I did, yeah.
Right, you did.
I've been in 2.
Oh, right. Okay.
Flown with them. I've been inside 2. I've flown with them.
Yeah.
First ones I got in. I wasn't abducted on the first one.
No.
I got in willingly. I was talking to the occupants.
Yeah.
The Nords. They call them Nords. I don't know what they call them. But they're called Nords. And they asked me to do something, and I think I've been doing it all my life.
2 questions here for you. Do you think these things are happening as a precursor to an attack, or to help us, or is it just like some are bad and some are good?
Big go.
Pardon?
Oh, we're all about being attacked by aliens. Yeah, it's quite normal. Everybody asks that. Oh.
Yeah.
It's a question that we can't answer, because if they wanted to attack us, they could kill us in 5 seconds if they wanted to.
Yeah.
They don't seem to want to.
No.
But what they might be doing is letting us get rid of ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what they could be doing. Because I think there is some kind of law that says they cannot attack us.
Yeah.
But what they're doing is underhandedly taking us.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about it. I'm not saying this is true.
No.
I've been with them all my life. I've been with 3 different types all my life. The one type I was with once, as far as I know. And the 3 other types I think have been following me all my life. They've been passing me from one to the other. I'm a guinea pig.
Yeah.
And that's what we are. We're only guinea pigs.
Yeah.
I mean, you got people saying, oh, they've got this gift and that gift. We're guinea pigs.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that other world beings are actually living among us?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Probably underground, some of them as well. There's a lot of that. I mean, I've looked at things myself. I mean, I've searched myself, you know. I found one, and it disappeared, and that was on the Berlin.
Right. Okay, we got Chris here with a question for you.
Hi, Chris.
Hi there, Mike. How are you doing? All right, pal?
Yeah, the same, mate.
I'm not too bad. Not too bad, thank you.
I didn't actually use questions properly to Joanne before. My phone's terrible.
Right. Can you hear me all right, Mike? Can you hear me all right, Mike?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, I was just getting the phone ready on the microphone. They go, I can hear whatever you're doing there. But yeah, we talk about all sorts, you know, an alien abductions and things like that. With Joanne. But just listening there, what you were saying is very, very interesting. And obviously I can appreciate the amount of experience and maybe in some form, maybe even trauma that you may have gone through, experiencing all that, and although we know it's to you it's extremely very, very real, and it's a fascinating subject, but not to be rude or dismissive at all. Please don't.
Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
Have you ever had any form of psychiatric evaluation as such? Because I know you believe obviously that you've had some.
No, I haven't.
Alien abductions, and you participated on the spacecraft.
I feel a bigger crank than you think I am.
Sorry?
I feel a bigger crank than you think I am.
No, not at all. I mean, it's just an evaluation. I mean, you say you've been on there, and it's not for me to say that you haven't, at all. But you're just covering all the areas.
I don't want to be this. I don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah, it's just something obviously that's.
But I was about to die.
Right.
I was telling my story before I died, and I've got better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Really, how it's worked out,
Yeah.
I mean, You're a skeptic, I can tell that.
Well, I'm a paranormal investigator, like Suzanne, and I'm a paranormal investigator. So obviously, I have to stay on the fence with everything because anything could be possible. So you know, it's not for me to say you haven't experienced these things. I mean, obviously, they're very, very real to yourself. You know, but I deal with people who
with me.
Exactly. You know, I deal with people who experience ghost phenomena, hauntings, and we have, and of course, it's the same to those as well.
I've had that as well. I mean, I've had quite a few experiences in different ways. That's what I was trying to explain. That.
Well, they're very real to people who experience things. They're very real. Sometimes we can prove along the lines.
Psychiatrists, yeah, they take that as well, yeah.
Exactly.
Real to the people who've experienced it, yeah.
Sometimes we can prove along the lines that the paranormal or the ghostly activity that they've experienced is merely something else. But obviously for yourself, that's a different concept. And, you know, experiencing the download of your whole life flashing, obviously, and then it's finally caught up with you there, it must be a harrowing experience. And you know, for me, that would have sent me a little, you know.
It did.
You know, so that's where the question was obviously just whether to.
But I've all my life, from the time I was a child, I've taught myself everything. I've never been taught one thing to behave. I'm a guitarist. I've played the guitar for 40 years. The clubs. That's what I've done for 40 years because I didn't want to do anything else but do the clubs.
Do you find it's give you any inspiration on your musical side of life?
Not really. No, I'm still inspired by Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry. And all the great guitarists. I'm still inspired by them, you know, Marvin, people like that. I didn't pick up anything from them. I didn't get any special gifts. I did, you know.
So I mean, it's obviously something that you're going to be carrying with you for the rest of your life. It's not something
that you're going to be. You're good, probably. So, you know, this is the end of my life. That's why I'm talking like I am. If this had been 20 years ago, I wouldn't be talking to you.
Well, exactly, and I appreciate you, you know, speaking to us. But just one final question, Mike, if I may. When you actually when you participated with the nodes on the spacecraft, was it something that did you find it an enjoyable experience?
I found it matter of fact. In fact, I didn't find it
because obviously with agreeing or
the story. It's not exactly. I didn't just meet him.
Yeah.
I was actually inside a crop circle when it was made by him.
Right.
And they landed in the crop circle and they met me.
Right. Okay.
I was actually in the crop circle when it was made.
You was actually in the crop circle?
I was actually in the field when they made the crop circle and they made it round me. Well, not round me, but I was inside it when it was made. And then they landed and then they met me.
So it seems to feel like you may have some special purpose with that specific...
Yeah, there was, yeah.
That specific race.
They asked me to do a job and I've been doing that job all my life. I don't know what the job is. I believe I know what the job is.
That may come in time. I mean, it's a hard thing, you know, for people who has experienced things like yourself, who experienced to come out and say, you know, to tell people. Obviously, there's people out there who feel they're being ridiculed. That's not our role at all whatsoever. I mean, it's appreciative. You've experienced that
anyway, so that's not a problem.
I'll pass you back to Suzanne. Mike, thank you very much indeed for answering that question for me. You've been a star. So I'll pass you back to Suzanne. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Right, now Joanne wants me to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to tell us about sorry, I've lost it. Oh yeah, about your Nordic experience and what they said about Earth. Now I believe this happened when you were 10.
Oh yeah. Well, Joanne will have a better description than me because my memory is so bad.
Right, okay.
I forgot what I wrote down now. But anyway, I'll go through it and Joanne will pull in when I need her.
Okay.
Sorry, you wanted me to explain the Nordic experience?
Yeah, basically she said to tell us what they said about Earth.
Oh, yeah. Shall I go through the experience or shall I just tell you what they said?
Bit of both, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, right, it'll take about 5 minutes probably.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. What it was, when I was a child, I never went to school, and I used to play in the fields and woods and by the canal. And I went down there one day and the field had a crop in it, I don't know what it was, wheat, barley, whatever.
Yeah.
And I used to go in and I used to lay down and I used to walk around in a little circle until it had flattened in a sort of 6-foot circle. And I used to lie in it and watch the animals run through and all sorts of different things used to happen, you know. Animals used to run through, not notice I was there till they ran into me in a way. And I just found it funny.
Yeah.
And I used to look at the clouds and make shapes from the clouds, you know, as a child. And I lay down there one day and this big white balloon went over my head, like 3 times bigger than one of these exercise things that women jump up and down on, you know, exercising. And then another one went past all the same one. But then I looked up. When I looked up, I could see they were spinning around each other. And when I actually got up, I was inside a crop circle.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what a crop circle was. I just thought the farmer had been down. I was looking at myself. If I've been to sleep, why am I not cut up for the blades? You know. But I thought I hadn't been to sleep. So I watched this, and these crop circles made. I'm in a big one, and if I remember rightly, there was 3 more at the top of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of looking, and this like, well, I now think of it as a spaceship, but I didn't at the time because I just thought it was like something I'd seen in a magazine or something. One of these things that they used to get high speed at, you know, racing.
Donald Campbell's Bluebird is what he thought it was.
Type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd seen one of these in a magazine, you see, or something. And I asked them, I said, is that a Donald Campbell's Bluebird there? And they said, no. And they said they come from up there somewhere. So I realised, well, I used to watch Flash Gordon, and I actually believed it. So,
yeah.
You know, I was a kid, and I hadn't been to school. I was very, hello?
You there?
Oh, yeah. Get a little click there.
Right.
NSA, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I've digressed and lost it. Now there's been a click. My head's not. Yeah, but they said to me, I'll carry on a bit.
Yeah.
They said to me, they said, well, I asked them if they were from God, and they said, that's a belief on your planet, we're not allowed to comment on that.
Oh, right.
Now that tells me what I always suspected, you know.
Yeah.
That there isn't really all these gods on our planet. Our planet's a tiny speck of dust. How can we have half a dozen gods on it? There's no more in the universe. You know, we're very, very honoured, aren't we? But anyway, I've digressed and lost it.
Ask him what they said about reptilians.
About God. But they said, what did I write down, Joanne? Because I wrote this down without really knowing what it meant.
Yeah, she says to find out what they said about reptilians.
Yeah, that's what I was asking Joanne to, because they said, we've got rid of, I forgot, I wrote it down.
Can you hear me, Suzanne? Do you want me to say it?
Yeah, say
it,
please.
Please, if you would, Joanne.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know if I was on air or not.
Yes, you are.
What's very special about what this phrase I'm just going to say is that this is not the way Mike speaks or writes. Mike is also dyslexic, very common amongst abductees, by the way. But they came up to him and they were looking nervously around, asking him if they'd seen any reptilians, and I'll let Mike tell you about that. But they also said, we have broken away from those who from our masters who would make us slaves. From those who would have made us slaves. I beg your pardon. We have broken away from those who would have made us slaves, which is phenomenal. Yeah. And then they asked him about Earth, and I'll let Mike tell you about the Earth business.
Okay, did you get that?
Yeah, just about, because it is. I am struggling. It might be my phone actually. My phone broke down last week, and my son went to fetch me some. And when he came back, it had that horrible sticker on it.
Yeah.
Tesco's. And I'm expecting it to break. Well, I've had it a week now. I'm expecting it to break down any time.
Right.
You know, it has got Tesco on it, you know. Sorry.
So, we digress.
Sorry, yeah, that was, sorry, I've lost it. Could you...
What was that again, Joanne?
So, it was what they said to him about Earth. They told him something about Earth.
They told you something about Earth.
Oh, yeah, they said there's a problem on your planet. That's how I knew they were from another one.
Right.
You know, that's sort of, that's how my head was saying, oh, they're on about this planet, they must be from somewhere else. I can't remember whether they've told me where they come from or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we chatted a bit, and I'm trying to think what we said now.
They asked if you would help.
Problem.
And they asked whether you would help?
Yeah, and they said, I said, yeah, what do you want me to do? And they said, well, you'll know at the time. That's what they said, you know. And I thought, oh, fair enough, you know. But they did say something. They said, you'll be hated for it.
Yeah.
And I can understand that now, you know. I've had so many problems with authority, you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Masons, you know. Then I went into the ship with them.
Yeah.
Asked if I want to go in the ship, and I went in the ship. And there was I didn't tell you what they looked like. There was a male and a female very tall, 6 foot, probably 3.
Yeah.
Blonde, all blondes, every one of them were blonde. That's where this Nordic thing comes from, I think.
Yeah.
And the children were taller than me. I don't know what age they were. I couldn't read it. And I can't even tell you if it was a male or female. I know there was a boy. I can't think if the other one was a girl. I can't remember. And we went in, and when we got into the ship, I went in one room, which seemed to be all moulded. No bolts or nuts, just moulded all together. As though it was meant to be like that. And they had these like round orange balls above. One had one above his hand. It was floating in the air above his hand.
Yeah.
One, it was floating above him or her. I know the boy had the ball by his hand. The other one, whether it was a girl or a boy, I can't remember. The ball was floating above, and there was one on the floor in front of me. I think there was a couple of others scattered around as well. But I picked this one up and put it in my lap, and the boy said, "Put it in your hand like this, and tell it to go up and down," which I did.
Yeah.
And he went up and down. But I believe that they did that. I believe that they made me think I was doing it. You get that?
Yeah.
Then I went into another room, and there was like a glass round table type thing with these things you put over cakes, like like a big glass dome over the top of that.
Yeah.
Inside it was like a child's spinning top. You know these spinning tops they used to have to push them up and down to make them spin.
Yeah.
The old-fashioned thing. I don't know I don't know how old you are, so I'm an old man, so and that's what it looked like, and it was spinning. And he was telling me something about revolutions and how aircrafts and things work, crafts work. And I watched this thing in the middle of it, and it was spinning, disappearing, spinning, disappearing. And when it disappeared completely, the ship took off.
Yeah.
And all I remember is seeing the Earth disappear from a large, round type window, and then see it come back. And that's all I really remember of that.
Yeah.
And that was it. I left that. I lost my bike.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, they're bringing it back to me somehow. And that's how it all started, really.
Yeah.
It could have started at a younger age, but I can't remember very much before that.
Yeah.
But after that, everything came back.
Now, obviously, you have been ill after these attacks and what have you that you've had in
I've been what, sorry?
You've been a bit ill, yeah, and you thought you were going to die, like you said.
No, I haven't been ill.
You thought you were going to die?
Sorry?
You thought you was going to die? And that's what you contacted A.M.A.C.H, yes?
Oh, right.
Yeah, and how did you feel? Sorry.
You were saying he left in the attacks.
No. I'm on about, when you
heart attacks.
When you had the heart attacks and everything.
Right,
yeah.
that was when I was, that was a year ago.
And you really thought you really felt you was going to die because of all these contacts and stuff, yeah?
No, I wasn't going to die because of the contacts.
Oh, right.
No, I was dying because I'm ill.
Oh, for the heart attacks. Okay.
No, I was already ill before the heart attack.
So how did you feel after contacting A.M.A.C.H?
I've got a broken neck from the army. I can't walk hardly.
Oh my
I've got
God.
a hernia in my stomach, which is near enough cancer. I was dying, but suddenly I feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to still be here now.
No.
I mean, we started the book 18 months ago. I expected to last at 12. Well, I'm still here.
How do you feel A.M.A.C.H has helped you?
Well, it was someone to talk to, mainly.
Yeah.
People like me have no one to talk to, really.
Yeah.
No one who can actually sit and listen.
No.
And, I mean, Joanne understands more than you can imagine.
Yeah.
She's listened to people like me.
Yeah.
And she's took it on board to try and help people like me.
Mm.
And she understands a lot more than you can imagine about this.
Yeah.
Speaking to people like me. She learned a lot from me about it.
Yeah.
She probably learned a lot from other people about it as well. The strange minds that we have.
Yeah.
Of course, our minds are not the same as yours. We can't wonder if there's a God or not.
Mm.
We can't wonder that. And that's a big thing when you wonder if there's a God or not. I mean, that's very manipulative. Because you can only use half your brain.
Yeah.
It's like me wondering if there's aliens. I haven't got that problem.
No.
I can use the full brain because I haven't got half a brain saying, is it true? And the other half saying, is it?
Yeah.
I haven't got that anymore. I'm fully aware of that everything that you talk about, everything that I talk about,
Yeah.
all there, everything in dimensions.
Now,
It's dimensional.
Obviously, you've gone through all these experiences, yeah, and we don't doubt you. Don't take that the wrong way. But what I'm wondering is, and as you say, it will be more than a show's worth to talk to you about all of this.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about what the government are saying they don't know and what they do know?
I find that very difficult because I could never believe that all the government know.
Yeah.
Never believe, because it just, mind you, to keep, they reckon how could we, yeah. Well, look at I forgot the name of the place in China. I mean, them people are only finding out what happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They're finding out now about the slaughter in Tiananmen, what's the name of it? Tiananmen Square?
Tiananmen Square, yeah.
They're only just finding out now. This has been suppressed for 20 years.
Yeah.
To how many billions of people in China? I mean, and they say we couldn't keep a secret about aliens. Yeah, easy. Because people are so brainwashed and so watching Coronation Street and Crossroads and whatever it is, all these stupid soap operas,
yeah,
that their brains are up their arses. I'm sorry to say that. You know, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
People are just brainless. And
yeah,
they're walking around without a brain, most people. You know, they're watching too much TV.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I feel. I hate to feel that way as well. I hate to feel superior.
Yeah.
I really do, you know. But I do feel superior to the people that watch EastEnders. I really do. And, you know, I mean, I watched an episode of, for the first time in my life, I watched an episode of Hollyoaks the other night.
Yeah.
Just for a laugh. Well, not for a laugh, actually. I turned the sound off. And I watched, and all I saw was people screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And slapping each other.
I wouldn't watch Hollyoaks anyway.
No, I don't know what it's like. I mean, I've never watched it.
Yeah.
I don't watch any soaps.
No.
But someone once told me to watch them without the sound and see what happens.
Yeah.
And it sort of opened my eyes. I go, wow, you know. All I've seen is people screaming and shouting and trying to claw each other's eyes out.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's all you see.
Yeah.
And people actually sit at home watching TV like that and see that as real life.
Oh, yes.
Got so many arguments in the streets. Divide and rule.
Yeah.
So many ways that they divide and rule us, you know.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Black and white. Muslim, Christian.
This is it.
Pink eyes, blue eyes.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, they'll find a way to make you fight the next door neighbour.
Yes.
And that's what they're doing. And that's what they're doing to humanity.
Right.
Look what they're doing. It happens in countries, streets,
yeah,
the schools, shopping centres. It happens everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just one thing. It's a whole manipulation of the public.
Yeah.
You know, of billions of people. You know, but to Africa, they know nothing about it.
No.
They're in the jungle. You see somebody that stores their own food and gets their own food. They don't know nothing about what we're talking about, and they smile all day.
Yeah.
They're smiling all day and laughing and joking.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Walking around with glum faces, looking at the floor.
Yeah.
Getting to stupid trains and going and spending 40 hours in horrible offices. And I've never done it. I come out of the army, you know, and I turned around after 6 months in a factory, said I'll never work in a factory again, and I haven't.
So are you sure that it's the aliens doing it or the government? Or are they in cahoots?
Oh, no.
Because they always say, there was also a theory that, you know, if aliens are coming into our in our space.
Any human being involved in this is being forced.
Right.
Any human being.
Yeah.
Because these things are so powerful. We are nothing compared to them. We are their lackeys.
Yeah.
Nothing. We are cavemen. We don't go and find a cave to live in anymore. We build them.
Yeah. Because I've always thought, Mike, that if they're flying around in our space, you know what I mean, in our atmosphere, the government's supposed to know everything that's going on up there. You know what I mean? So. Well,
it's a very strange thing. They've all got different offices.
Yeah.
And they none of them know what the other one's doing half the time.
Yeah.
So that's how they keep secrets and stuff. You go to Area 51.
Yeah.
You'll go in there. They'll fly you 400 miles. Yeah. To put one bolt on something, and then walk back out to the factory. They pay for that because that one bolt is all that person knows is going onto that machine.
Yeah.
And then another person will come and put a bracket on it. And then they'll fly in 400 miles and then send me straight back out again. They'll fly somebody else 400 miles.
Yeah.
Put a pin on that bracket. So nobody knows what that machine is but the person that invented it or whoever's manipulating what it is. That's how Area 51 works.
Yeah.
And ask anyone that knows anything about it and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, I've never been there.
Okay.
I've never been there, but I worked with the regiment from there.
Well, we're going to bring back in Joanne and find out more about her A.M.A.C.H. Okay, Mike? It's been really great talking to you.
Yeah, it's been lovely to talk, you know.
Okay, so...
Have a genuine, interesting discussion.
Yes.
It is a discussion.
Yes.
But I've got a skeptic there, which I like.
Yeah.
You know, because I'll say to all skeptics the same thing.
Yeah.
I really don't know what the answers are to you.
No.
You know, I've seen what I've seen.
Okay.
That is what I've seen, and that's it.
Right. Well, do you want to leave you on the line, or do you want me to hang up now?
I'm going to have to hang up because I can't hear Joanne anyway.
All right then, my love. No
I'll
problem.
talk to Joanne after this anyway. Thanks very much, Suzanne.
Cheers, Mike. Bye.
And I'll catch you later, Joanne.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that was Mike, but we've still got Joanne with us. He's having trouble hearing you, Joanne. Are you still with us, love?
Yes, I put the headphones on. I hope that's a bit better.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Oh.
So my mic's attacking me now.
Can you call an ambulance, please? Me
Not
and
a paranormal event going on there, is there, Suzanne?
Right, okay. Right, going back to your organisation. Now, how many people have you interviewed, and is there a common thread, Joanne?
You know what, I really on the interview, let me start off with the interview side. I've done quite a few interviews on camera one-to-one, and I actually couldn't give you a number of that at the moment because I also consider my Skype calls and telephone calls interviews, and honestly they're absolutely numerous, so it's a lot. I've probably spoken to around 1,500 people since the beginning, or more, and that's all over, you know, kind of worldwide now. Yeah. But mainly the UK. Very, very interesting things happening in the UK. It seems to be a real hotbed at the moment, and more people coming forward. So that's very interesting. Sorry, just give me the other question again, Suzanne.
I just wondered if you thought there might be a common thread to all these.
A common thread. Well, there are commonalities, and commonalities are the ones that you will hear about a lot. A lot of people have experienced missing time. Perhaps missing time is a misnomer. It's actually missing memory.
Yeah.
But certainly missing time, whether it's sort of 5 minutes or an hour or a day or 2 days or 10 days. That kind of thing, like Travis Walton was 5 days, and Alec Newald in New Zealand, I think, was 10 days. So some people will come back with marks, puncture wounds, scoop marks, bruises. And when I went to the States last year, we were working with Dr. Roger Lear, who sadly passed this year, and his team, Steve Colburn, with ANS Research, and what they have been developing are tools to try and ascertain if there's been alien interaction. And one of the things that they've been using, and everybody can try this is really easy, but you need the 3 frequencies, A, B, and C of black light, which is UV light, A, B, and C, the 3 different lights, because what it shows is it fluoresces. And one of the people that they worked with actually had on them a handprint that actually fluoresced. And normally the fluorescence, if you've been abducted or had some interaction with ET, tends to last between 8 to 10, 24 hours, 48 hours at the end. And the different frequencies of the light, the A, B, and C, they're different light lengths, will fluoresce the different colours. Apparently orange is much more rare.
Yeah.
So that if you can get a black light pretty much within those hours, then you can definitely see. And people have observed using black light prints on the walls, the floors, that kind of thing. They seem to leave a residue, which is very, very interesting. So it's fascinating to see all these kind of things. So people have experienced commonalities are things like male and female genetic material being taken. This is sperm and ovum. Very frequently there are implants implanted, and they'll frequently feel these going up through the nose, sometimes behind the ear, sometimes behind the eye. Dr. Lear also began removing them with a team of surgeons because he was a podiatrist, and he supervised it from hands and feet, extremities. And these tiny little bits of technology were seen also to, and Mike had this as well, were seen to have fibers, filaments growing from them. And actually what they were doing, their neural interface, because it is impossible for anything to enter the human body and there not to be an inflammatory response. And what I mean by that is if we get a splinter in our finger or anywhere else, we will get the inflammatory response, which will be where the white blood cells are gathering around to try and expel the foreign body. That doesn't happen with implants at all. So it shows you that their technology is phenomenal. And they have found from the implants different frequencies emanating and also being given off and being received. So they're like a transponder, I think it is, when you can both receive and give out. So a lot of people think that they're tracking devices, think that they are monitoring people, and definitely Mike probably still has one, but he had one that was expelled during an issue with the sinuses, which was also taken. It's very interesting too that once people have expelled one way or another, if it's in the nasal cavity or the ears, if it comes out, they seem to be programmed, mind manipulated, to get rid of it.
Yeah.
In fact, Mike didn't get rid of it. He put it away for later investigation the next day. Had that night the room light up with lights as if something from outside was illuminating the whole room. Heard a lot of fast movements around, and he and his wife's bedroom was adjusting the bathroom, and heard sounds there. But interestingly enough, didn't get up to investigate and just suddenly went back to sleep. And that often happens as well.
Yeah.
The next day he went to find the little device and it had gone.
Right.
So they don't like them being found.
No.
So commonality. So the missing time, and also people can have anxieties, depressions, a sense of something having happened, and sometimes down the line they'll get flashbacks, they won't understand it, and they can have other things. Health conditions can be things like arthritis, neurological problems, all kinds of stuff. There's quite a lot that goes on for abductees.
Right. Now, there's two questions in the chat room. Before I go to them, just a similar question to what I've just asked. How many different kinds of entities, for want of a better word, would you say have been described to you? And what are the most common?
The most common are the greys, and there are different types of greys. Some are not grey, some are white, some are tan, some are brown, some are, very, very leathery skinned, like elephant skin. Others, again, very different types, but a whole range of greys. The mantids or the mantis. Simon Parkes, again, did an interview with him and a therapy session on camera with him, looking at those, and the reptilians, very many different kinds of reptilians as well. The Nordics, some people link those with the Pleiadians as well. Tall, fair, blonde, very, very common as well. So those are the main ones. Sometimes people describe very short, stocky, almost dwarfish looking beings, and sometimes different hues as well. But other people have seen entities with horns, with tails, all kinds of different. There do seem to be a hugely different types. Sometimes very light-bodied beings, so as if they were made up of light. But whether that's them being able to manipulate dimensions and matter, I don't know. We just don't have enough information. But those are some, the main few that are mentioned. There's lots of different ones though, and shadow beings come into it. People are talking about the jinn in the sort of Middle East side of things, but I don't think that explains everything. It's another aspect. Right. I had 1 or 2 paranormal events, and one of them involved a shadow being, although I think it was military remote viewers.
Yeah. Right, okay. Going to the chat room, as I say, we've got a couple for you. I'll ask Andy's in a moment. But the Viscount would like to know, if aliens exist and are far greater knowledge than us, then why not take scientists instead of normal people?
I think they take everybody.
Do they?
I don't think really. I don't think that they are. I don't know whether they're taking links to Hilary Porter, one of the speakers at the conference, and she's also a lifelong abductee. Believes that she's traced it to essential lines, 13 lines, family lines, which are obviously very divergent at various points over time, and it can link with blood groups as well. So scientists are involved, but a lot of people who are in the professions will not admit or come forward to anything of this. And I'll tell you that after the Channel 4 mockumentary last year, I did have a scientist come forward who told me that he had analysed a soil sample from an area where a UFO had dispatched some material, and that he had done a paper on this, and that he was trying to get it produced in a serious journal, something like the Journal of Astrobiology, something like that. He could not get it published in a serious journal for peer review or anything like that because of the subject matter. Now, this is a guy who also would not speak at my conference because he didn't want to, quote unquote, be tarnished by association with the subject. So, we have a real dichotomy, a real paradox of things going on here. So, believe you me, it happens to lawyers, judges, it happens to everybody. So, we just don't necessarily hear about it. A lot of these people, are very fearful for their jobs, their life, and just going to people in academia. Dr. John E.M.A.C.H, who sadly died in 2004, he was a Harvard professor of psychiatry. He took on the abductee issue, really, and it's to look at Chris's point really before, to address the issue of mental health, to see if there was something to do with some mental health issue with the array of people that he met. And he even went on to the Oprah Winfrey show with a couple of folks who were abductees, and his conclusion is that these are well-balanced, ordinary people having extraordinary experiences, and that was the fact of the matter, and that was his conclusion. Now, Harvard tried their darndest to get him, barred, banned, and, fired. But too many people, came around him. But normally, that's what will happen. You'll be railroaded out of your job, out of your family. Your financial support will go. Believe you me, this is serious.
Yeah. Yeah, you talk about the documentary last year. Is that the one which Sasha Clare Christie was in, and this bloke was saying something about he had sex with somebody every year? The MP.
Yes, Simon Parkes.
Yes.
Simon Parkes. Yes, that was Simon Parkes. Yes, he's a Labour councillor up in Whitby.
Yeah.
And but that's But what's very interesting about Simon as well is that his mother worked for MI5. His grandfather was involved with MI6 in the diplomatic corps side of things, very deeply. And it's very easy to mock and to take the mick out of these people when they present their material, because it just is so far from what we can perceive. And, maybe I would term things differly. Perhaps if it was me telling that same story, I wouldn't use the words or the phrases and whatever that he would use.
That's Channel 4 for you, though, isn't it?
It's his story, and so yes, it is that documentary. They called it Confessions of an Alien Abductee.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. But as I say, I find Channel 4 programs most of the time it is a mockery on some of the topics they use.
It is. I have to say, in sort of fairness to the production company who initially approached me, because I'd said no. A.M.A.C.H began to attract a lot of publicity, public, media attention around about 2012, and I'd said no to just everybody because of exactly this point. But the production company were lovely, and they assured me of integrity being maintained and all the rest of it, and. We had a really good relationship. So I thought, oh, you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's just turn the Anyway, what they did then, they did a taster which was actually quite good. I thought I saw that, and they then approached Channel 4 for their very first commission, which is what they got. So Off the Fence Production, who made it, although they had an absolutely appalling director, couldn't direct traffic. Good grief. He also really didn't help because he was making real asinine comments and are ridiculous questions. There was no intelligence to them at all, and he didn't even know anything about A.M.A.C.H. This is Guy Gilbert, when he turned up for filming. And I thought, oh my God, not even any background knowledge.
Oh God. So
I think that when they got their first commission and Channel 4 then railroaded them into another slightly different way of presenting this material, they had no choice. That's what I believe. That's what because they, and I could be wrong about that. I could be just being too kind. I don't know. But anyway, it's, these things are a baptism of fire when you go through them. But the fact is, as I said before, I had 300 emails and so many people saying thank you for being the one to put your head above the parapet, and to just, it's so important to get the subject out there and to end the isolation.
Do you, when you say about us stopping the isolation, do you find that you put other abductees in touch with each other? Yeah,
if that's what they want. I mean, no, it's not. Again, it's horses for courses. It's like Mike says. He says, I believe my story because it happened to me, but it doesn't mean I believe Simon's or anybody else's or this or that. And I just choose those names randomly because this is still a stretch. As Mike says, he's still a skeptic.
Yeah.
And talking about the mental health issue, I do ask people quite frequently if they're on medication. There's nothing wrong with that. Or if they've been sectioned. Some people have been sectioned, and also some people have been labelled schizophrenic by the psychiatry units of this country. And even with all of that, let me tell you, it does not mean that their story is not true.
No. So how do you work that out, that when they come forward they're not suffering from, say, old hag syndrome or mental illness?
Really, what I do is spend quite a bit of if I think that there is something to it, and I've got the corollaries, the commonalities will be there. If they're not, then and it's a very different experience, and I'll follow it through, I'll test it through, and then we'll go back because, like the police do, they go back on questioning, because you can't keep telling the lie. The lie will change.
Yeah.
Reality won't. But most people, once they are comfortable, they will volunteer this kind of information. I interviewed a guy called John Shelton, and he was sectioned for a short time, and one of the reasons he was sectioned is because he just suffered a breakup with a relationship, but more than that, at the same time, he'd had a massive abduction experience, which absolutely pushed him over the edge. He just didn't have any coping skills, and this is what we're trying to do. Hilary Porter and I are writing, going to co-author a book called A Self-Help Manual for Experiences, where we're just going to try and put together from her lifetime of experience and work and my research and health and wellness stuff, just a handbook, a manual where people can get some support. And it's not to say that it's the be-all and end-all, and sometimes we can't stop the intervention, but we can ameliorate it, and there are tools to help us deal with what we're dealing with. And that's where we're coming from that. So it doesn't invalidate people's experience, because when people do go to the medical world, often, because where do we go if this is an issue for us, that we're frightened? People write to me and they say, well, I'm leaving the lights on. These are grown people. I'm leaving the lights on still. I still, many years later, I still have fears, although I feel better about it, and to some extent they'll feel it's part of their spiritual journey, and I'm sure it is. I've no doubt about that. Yeah. This is all a massive, huge growth process for humanity, but we've just got to learn to not be fearful of it. And I know that's a big ask, because I've had one or two paranormal events where I was, pretty shaken, and then I, kind of got myself anchored and got back on again and dealt with it, and I was able to do it. But I was able to do it because I've got quite a lot of background skills and tools to work with. So that's what I'm also disseminating and teaching, especially in these regression and discovery workshops. Just simple, easy tools that people can support themselves with, because, as I said before, it's a lonely life when you live with these. Somebody called me recently and said, I've lived with my secret for 8 years. They actually told me something happened to them last year, and then they finally came clean and said, well, actually it was 8 years ago, and the reason I told you it was last year was simply because I didn't think you'd take me seriously, that it was 8 years ago.
Yeah.
doesn't matter how long ago it is. It's sometimes also when things are ready to evolve in you as a human being, as a person, then you will be impelled to do something about it, or something will trigger you. And this person had only heard of A.M.A.C.H a couple of days before they called me this last week, and had, they were really brave and came forward. And definitely, Mike said he doesn't have any gifts, but I believe he does. You know, he has a lot of insight, a lot of very canny insight, which didn't, you wouldn't necessarily be aware of in the interview. But he definitely displays some traits that I would recognise.
Yeah. Now, sorry, carry on.
I was just going to say, quite a few of the abductees have an ad hoc, from time to time, ability of prophecy. Now, prophecy is a bit of an emotive word. But what I mean by that is, for example, I'll use Mike again. The day before 9/11 occurred, he suddenly said to his other half, with his got his child with him, America's going to be attacked tomorrow. The world will not be the same again. Book a holiday. And she thought he was completely crazy. And so she did book a holiday, and off they went. And they got to where they were going just in time to see the towers going. And it freaked his partner out so much.
Yeah.
And you see, this is it as well. When something's happening to you, it bleeds off into your family and into others, because of course it affects your social circle, because it's part of who you are. Now, I know I've been speaking to a guy up in Cambridge, and we're going to do some workshops and work with him, which is going to be really exciting in another month or two. And he said he now lives alone because of the degree of activity that's happening to him, almost on a daily basis. And there's no way he could hold down a relationship or anything like that, simply because they wouldn't be able to tolerate the degree of paranormal stuff that goes along. This paranormal and the ET side of it is they go hand in glove. There's something about the dimensional shifting, whatever. I mean, Anne Andrews, who spoke at our conference last year, who's in Lincoln, her son was a abductee since he was a baby, and it took her 12 years to believe him. But she said they would have electrical items turn on when they were unplugged. And that's so common. And also owls.
Right. You've never been abducted, have you?
Not to my knowledge, and I don't think I have. And when the biolocation team did some testing at the conference, I was used as a baseline for a negative. I don't feel I have. I think you kind of sense things about yourself. I know, things I have had happen to me, but that I don't believe is one of them. So I tested negative for that. Okay. But one of my colleagues, a guy called Adam Chatterton, tested positive, very positive for everything. And Adam hadn't said anything about being an abductee, and Adam's helped me out with some bits and pieces with A.M.A.C.H from time to time. And as he told me some of the stories about his life, I thought, gosh, this guy's an abductee. He's got to be an abductee. One of the other common things, and what made me think of Adam as being an abductee, was because he mentioned that from time to time when he used to do some driving as a job, he would sometimes find himself going to sleep. And I don't mean at the wheel. I mean he'd pull over and go to sleep for seemingly periods of time. And he would wake up with a browny, rusty, orangey, viscous liquid out of his nose. And people have had this browny, rusty, orangey coloured liquid of whatever it is on clothing, on their bathroom walls, on their sheets. And Hillary Porter had it actually on a jumper, and part of that was sent away for scientific analysis, and it showed higher than average background gamma radiation. There are still some of the spots left on this jumper that she's got, which we're hoping that biolocation team will test and see what they come up with. So that's another indicator, very strong. And Mike also experienced that, but on his van, when he was being taken from a major experience, which is known as his Abingdon experience, the van actually had to be resprayed because of all these brown marks on it. So shame we don't have the van anymore, and shame that was all so long ago that we don't have any recourse to speak to anybody around that time.
Well, Emma Knight's asked a question, which is also similar to Viscount's. She was wondering why, if they supposedly abduct us for tests, etc., why do they keep having to do it so often? So,
good question. It's a very good question. I really don't have an answer for that, except it does seem to be ongoing. So whether they're doing a series of tests in one, sphere for one thing and one for another, and who knows? I just don't know. I really seriously don't have an answer.
No.
And nobody I know has been told, to my knowledge, but people have been shown hybrid children, babies. That's very common. So whether there's a new race, whether they're trying to adapt, emotion seems to be a key element that they're interested in, and soul essence. Our soul seems to be of great interest to these guys. Now, it seems to be that the human form, and us in particular, has something that is really unique and special.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell you what that is. Maybe it's a combination of things, but also maybe we are an ongoing project. Maybe we are an ongoing. I do absolutely believe, like Lloyd Pye of the Star Child Skull Project believes in intervention theory. I absolutely do. Yeah. And I think that we are a product of genetic engineering. Whether it's the Anunnaki, the Archons, or whomsoever, it's clear because there are so many anomalies in our genetic makeup that are not kind of the norm of development, that speak of manipulation.
Yeah.
It's but no one's talking about this openly. No scientist. I've often said, I wish a scientist or whatever, several scientists would come together, even anonymously, work with us anonymously, because quite a lot of the abductees or experiencers have said that they will happily go through DNA and genetic testing and blood testing if there would be, someone who would do that work for us, a friendly geneticist or somebody, or a biochemist. There's I don't know whether you know the book, The Hair of the Alien, which is Bill Chalker's book, a guy in Australia.
Uh-huh.
And they actually had a hair, which they were able to analyze, and the DNA from this alien hair was quite phenomenal. And one of the things it showed up was something called, let me see if I can get this right. You'll have to look it up. I think it's called something like the CR5 deletion factor.
Right.
And I may have got that slightly wrong, so excuse me. I just can't think without looking at the information in front of me. But basically what that means is that they were immune to AIDS, immune to cancers, immune to a whole raft of human conditions.
Yeah.
Conditions that humanity goes through. And there are one or two humans on the planet who have this factor.
Mm-hmm.
But they are a rare group in themselves. So this is very interesting. And also there was a mix of like a Basque, as in Spanish, Asian, and other DNA. Very, very interesting. And also the root of the hair was different in its structure from the shaft of the hair as well. So how does that happen? This is really crazy wild. It's very interesting stuff. So, in evidence, we have some little bits and bobs like Hillary's jumper, like some of the implants, like some of the wounds and some of the things that have gone on there. People have had brain scans, CAT scans, X-rays, that kind of thing. We can see those. It's all, apart from the testimony.
Right. Now, during your conversation earlier, and Mike's, it sounded as though you mentioned the Illuminati. Is that correct?
I did mention the Illuminati, yes.
You did. What makes you think that's connected?
I say that this subject is a 360 degree, and what I mean by that is that clearly humanity, if we, you don't need to be a rocket science to know that we're not in a good space. We've got chemtrails happening.
Yeah.
And all the fallout from the aluminium, the barium, there is an epidemic of upper respiratory problems going on with that.
Yeah.
Absolute epidemic. We've got this, and if this is to do with global warming, we've also got global dimming. The sunlight is 20% less than it used to be. We don't do very well as a species without oxygen.
Yeah.
We don't. So our oxygen levels are becoming reduced. What's that story? The pH of the soil is becoming changed. What's that story? This is to do with the chemtrailing, to do with the GMOs. We're kept in a state of fear and war and suppression. So we are so busy paying our mortgages and our utilities.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had to laugh to hear somebody talking about, you know, now they're looking at wave power and more wind power. I mean, for Christ's sake, you know, it just drives me insane. We've had free energy technology since the 1920s or something like that, even earlier, through Nikola Tesla and others, people like, I think it's Walter Russell, sorry. Anyway, you know, we've got John Searle from this country, for goodness sake, with the SEG.
Yeah.
We are being manipulated left, right, and centre. So our food is being affected. We're being put to wars. We think we accept this as normal. This isn't normal. It's not normal to behave like this and to have our environment destroyed. This is not normal. So what is going on, and how does it all fit in with the abductee? That's the questions. Well, the Illuminati and those who are in control behind the powers that be, or the powers that be, I think that there is some other issue going on, and those who would have us absolutely subjugated and not using our intelligence, not using our intuition and our higher faculties, you know, that serves their purpose, because if we are divided and ruled, if we are, you know, if there is all this division going on, which there clearly is, then we're not focusing on what we are as spiritual developing human beings. We are focusing on the external. We're focusing on, you know, all the rest of that. And meanwhile, we're being by stealth.
Yeah.
Dehumanized.
Yeah.
Who benefits? You don't benefit, and I don't benefit.
No.
I can tell you that. Now, you know, you've got people like Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Putting his billions into, you know, sterilizing people in Africa, and, you know, the seed banks, and Monsanto with their Terminator seeds. Come on, people. Let's, you know, and now we've got Owen Patterson in the UK, you know, wanting to sign up to the GMOs over in the UK when the people don't want it. But it's going to be signed in, or it already has been signed in. It was either last week or this week. I mean, it's right under our nose, but we're so busy, you know, just surviving.
Yeah.
You know, I have great compassion for that too, but unless more of us go, this is actually not okay, I really, you know, because what are we leaving? I don't have kids, I have my dog. What am I going to leave my little dog? You know, I don't want to leave him a polluted atmosphere.
No.
It's not necessary. You know, we have trees and farms and everything dying off in droves from the chemtrailing, and no one's admitting to that either, of course. It's been going on since at least 98.
That's it. Now,
and it's probably a NATO-driven thing, because it's all the different NATO countries.
Joanne, we've kept you on longer than we anticipated, but it's been a fascinating subject.
God bless you. It's, you know, this is huge, guys. This is really huge. It's exciting. Let's get out there. Let's get some research, and let's come together and talk about it. Let's get more people interested in finding out what the Nora is going on.
Just before you go, there are those out there who don't trust A.M.A.C.H. And
fair enough.
And think you may be part of the government cover-up by keeping some stories quiet. What would you like to say to them that may convince them otherwise?
Well, I'm not about to convince anybody about anything. You know, you're well entitled to your point of view. Miles Johnston and his team did a lot of A.M.A.C.H. bashing after the documentary for their own reasons. And, you know, that's where they are in their own development, and that's fine. But what I would say is, I'm doing this on fresh air. If you guys want to donate and help A.M.A.C.H. thrive, that would be absolutely lovely. So I'm giving my time at the moment. It's absolutely, you know, unpaid. And it's it's almost a full-time job. And, you know, if you just want to talk to some of the people who've come through my doorway, you know, please do engage and see if, you know, I have been undermining them or whatever.
Oh, I wouldn't dream of us saying that.
Yeah, good for you and bless you. You know, that's part of the division and rule thing. Let's.
Well, again, thank you for your time. It's been great having you on. It really has. And I wish you all the best of luck with your research and your organisation. And I hope
thank you. And again, if people want to get in touch, there's a website which I will update at some point, which is A.M.A.C.H.co.uk. And there's I don't know if you're going to put up the contact Helpline, because I also fund by myself for those folks who think that I'm making out of this.
Yeah.
And so what's wrong with making a living out of a passion?
I will put it on the radio replay for you as well. So if anyone listens to that, they'll see it there.
All right, sweetheart. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joanne. Good night.
See you, folks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Wow, I didn't expect to be that long talking to her, I'll be honest with you. So, good. But I must admit, we got a lot out of her.
We did. We got a lot of bits and pieces there.
I tried to ask everybody's question.
I have a few queries, but I didn't really want to be argumentative because obviously she's entitled to a view on what she does. But I think everybody that's coming in and saying that I was abducted by aliens should be tested.
Yeah.
Not because I think they're nuts or anything like that, but in some cases it's not because of aliens. It's because they do have issues, and these issues run deep, and they could be connecting lots of other things in their lives. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, this is it. But it was an interesting topic.
So, just as to put what you're doing in the right context, you should be checking that side of things as well.
Yeah, well, I'm sure she does. Probably a bit like us when we do our home investigations. You know what I mean? So, but like she said, she checks on medication and stuff like that. You know. But as I say, you know, if you're still listening, Joanne, I'm terribly sorry for keeping you on so long. And if you can let Mike know, thank you very much as well for taking his time. But I'm going to have a quick. Well, I'm not going to have a quick break, but I'm going to do the
what song guide.
The what song guide, and then we'll come back and
I'm going to shoot out there because Chris just gave me the come here a minute sign.
Right. Okay.
So I won't be long.
Okie dokie. So we'll speak to you in a bit.
We've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Well, on the 28th of June to the 5th of July at the Arthur Findlay College, Stansted Hall in Essex, there's a demonstrating medium, which is Tony Stockwell, and other tutors, including Helen DeVita and Jose Goschalk. They will be working on their own, helping people to work on their own spiritual gifts as a demonstrating medium. Okay, so if you can find out more about that by contacting the Arthur Findlay College in Essex. On the 28th of June, there's the old police cells in Brighton, fully decommissioned in the 1960s. The old police cells of Brighton are used as a council storage facility now, and they're open now opened for the police museum as well, with several artifacts relating to the police force and the cells. For one night, you can have your chance to try and experience the paranormal activity that goes on for yourself. For more information, contact www.the-pigs.co.uk. On the 28th of June, also, D-Day tunnels at Fort Southwick in Portsmouth. You'll find Compass Paranormal there at one of their favourite locations, and you'll find that there is 100 feet beneath the fort. There is a large Palmerston Fort too. There are over 100 rooms in the tunnel complex for you to explore. They were continually updated during World War II and throughout the Cold War to the mid to late 70s. So you can find out more at compassparanormal.co.uk. And don't forget, we've got 3 evenings with mediums going on. Tony Stockwell's still doing his tour. Find out more at tonystockwell.com and click events. You've got the 2014 Enlightenment Tour, and you can find out where Derek Akora is at derekakora.com, and Colin Fry's Voices from Heaven Tour 2014. You can find out more from colinfry.co.uk. Now, if you would like to also hire or book access to a pub any Wednesday evening, okay, with a minimum of 6 people. Other days are possible. Well, you'll be able to at the Old King's Head in Chester, and Paul Rowland, otherwise known as Ace Paradox, will be investigating the 17th century pub within the city walls of the Roman city of Chester, which has many historical ghost tours, but he tries to use technology to detect a spirit in our presence. So whilst you're there, the primary interest will be live EVP technology, which allows the potential of audio responses in real time in your presence, and your presence might make a difference to a successful communication investigation. He has designed and built a range of unique equipment for EVP research. This is to communicate with the spirit through technology. His ambition is to hold a two-way conversation with someone in the spirit world, which he says I refer to as an electronic seance, and you can take part. During the evening, subject to availability, you will have access to unoccupied guest rooms with activity up to 10:30 p.m. Following this, we will use the first floor function room, and then after closing time, we will have access to the ground floor bar area. The aim of the event is to try to capture recordable evidence of paranormal activity through technology. In particular, we will try to contact the spirits through live EP technology. And you can find out more about this by going to www.paradoxelectronics.com. And if you would like to book an evening at the Old King's Head with Paul Rowland. So why don't you have a look and see? So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events, available now. ParanormalEventsForYou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. ParanormalEventsForYou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Yeah, so that's the events coming up in the next couple of weeks, and so have a look and see what you can go on. And if you're interested, as the advert says, if you're interested in advertising your events, then just go to paranormalevents.co.uk. So, Mr. Chris Andrews, what did you think to tonight's topic?
Very interesting topic. It's, I sit on the fence with it. I've got to do. But,
you've got to, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand Mike's, he was on the phone earlier. You know, I can understand how he feels on the ridicule side of things with his experiences, because obviously there's people out there who are not going to, listen to things like that in detail and accept the fact. But but then there's people out there who are going to listen in detail and accept the fact. To him, no doubt, it's a very, very real concept that he's experienced. And Joanne herself, she put over, some good points, and obviously, and she's covering a vast amount of areas with things.
I remember she's doing this all, buckshees,
Oh yeah, definitely.
She's doing it all on her own reconnaissance.
Yeah, I mean, there's people out there, who have believed that they have had paranormal experiences in the UFO field of abductions and things like that. But for me personally, I still think, and that's not to discredit or despond any of the guest speakers.
No,
I still strongly think that maybe a lot of people who who have the concept of being abducted and things like that and disappeared should seek beforehand, or before anybody should take them into it and say, well, this is what has happened to you. You have been abducted. I would seek medical assistance first, just to alleviate the fact that somebody could be, let's say someone has got pressure on the brainstem or pressure on anything like that, then then their imagination side of things, people tend to black out. People can have medical problems, medical histories where they can black out and things like that. Suddenly they've lost so many minutes of their life. To us, it might only be a few seconds. I've got a daughter myself, and she has a form of epilepsy where she just sort of fades away, disappears.
Yeah.
And she'll just carry on walking, and she's just a zombie. And then she'll just come back into it, and she's got no recollection of anything that's happened. And then suddenly, if you've got pressure on certain parts of the brain, imagination starts kicking in. Or television things. I'm not saying that it's not real what they've experienced. But these are elements that we have to look at first. If we can rule out any forms of instability in the mind or any other underlying conditions on an illness factor. So what I would look at is what people tend to see is they're trying to figure it out what it is. I'd rather look at the other side and think, well, let's rule out what it's not first. Let's rule out what it isn't.
Well, that's because we're investigators. Any good investigator will do that. They rule out the stuff that it's not before and see what's left. None of your point about the brain. We all know the brain is a powerful instrument, most of which we know nothing about. But
the subconscious as well.
The subconscious is probably the most powerful thing that we have. But having said that, how many of these abduction stories are born from something happening so quick that the mind can't figure out what it is? Just like pareidolia, it picks the first thing that looks like it. So it's not an alien, but because something's happened so fast, that's the nearest picture to what they can put. So the mind automatically says aliens.
Well, you've got three different. There has to be at least three different concepts. There has to be, or maybe even more. Obviously, three different concepts. You have people who are falsifying things and making it up because they want media attention. They want the publicity. But they're making it up when they know full well. You have other people who live in sort of daydream worlds, who have, like we just said, psychiatric discrepancies and things like that, and confusion with reality, watching television, and you have
Walter Mitty syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
And then you must have that element who, they're physically fit. They've been, you could take a lie detector test or a polygraph test, and it shows that there's no involvement of fakery or trickery on that part. And these people strongly believe that they have been in, some form of alien abduction. So therefore, because we can't prove they haven't, we can't prove they have. So we have to take that as another aspect of the possibility that they have. So that's what the three elements that I would say that, and each one of those people who fabricate these things often get exposed anyway. Sometimes some people can't live with the guilt of it all at some stage, and they come clean. And people, it's the same with paranormal and ghosts. People fake things and trickery. With those little those fairies, bottom of the garden, the picture of all that bottom of the garden, and that be going on for years and years and years and years, and it's probably only later years. So all these elements exist, and we have to, before we can accept anything as gospel, I think anyway. I mean, people can agree, people may not agree, but how I would go about it is, you have to analyse it, and don't accept anything as gospel. You got to look at all the options first and outweigh everything before we can make conclusions.
Well, Andy Mercer wants to ring in, and I must have looked away and missed his call. So I'm going to wait for him to call back again. So he wants to give his 2 penneth. So if you want to call again, Andy, then do so.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to ask, but I hope, I really do hope that there's some kind of correlation going on with these reports. Putting them in sections that this is the greys, this is the crossover, this is that kind of thing, so they can be checked. Because obviously, if these people are meeting, say the greys, for instance, although she said there's several times the greys and some greys are brown, which didn't make sense to me whatsoever, then the greys are obviously doing one kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we got Andy on the phone.
There's several times the grades are all down to brown.
You need to mute that. Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Have you enjoyed tonight?
Yes, I couldn't resist ringing in though. I have to say.
No, I know.
It is one of those problems. The brain, it can fool itself, it can delude itself, it can create inventions, it can create mysteries, it can create all sorts of things that just aren't real. And there's no way of verifying whether these things happen or not. In my years working as a psychotherapist, I mean, I can't really detail because it's people's personal stories and cases, but I mean, I've heard all sorts of things of people who actually totally believe absolutely to be genuinely real. I mean, again, I can't go into too much detail at the moment, but a friend of ours is actually quite seriously ill at the moment. She's having bipolar issues, and she's not taking her medication properly. And some of the conspiracy theories that she's telling me, is frightening, absolutely frightening. This woman is otherwise sane and normal, but she's changed her medication, and it's caused all sorts of problems. And yet she totally believes all this conspiracy stuff that's being followed and observed with cameras and all that kind of stuff. And it's worrying. And I'm not saying for a moment anybody's expecting to share the scene is delusional, but we just can't be sure. There's just so much of it gets taken on face value about deep investigation. And as I was saying a bit on the chat room, my own investigation into the old hag syndrome and sleep paralysis and hypnagogic dreaming, it can explain most of the things that were spoken about on the show.
Yeah.
Poor chaps had all sorts of horrible traumatic experiences, undoubtedly, but again, there's nothing verifiable. I mean, we've talked about sort of pieces of evidence being removed from people's bodies, bits of metal. Every single one of them I know of has been turned out to be completely benign. It can be explained satisfactorily. It's a piece of metal that's from the earth. There's nothing unusual about it. There's no hidden elements that can't be explained. They have no function other than bits of metal. I don't know of a single case. I'd love to know of one. I'd love to see one, but there anything other than it's just something that's got stuck under the skin. I mean, there are cases where things have been under the skin and have not caused swelling, have not caused any obvious physical mark, but when removed, they just found pretty benign pieces of metal. So it's not always so the body always responds and builds up white blood cells around these things and cause lumps, because it's not the case, unfortunately.
Well, this is it. So, but as I say, you've got to, some people really believe that this is what they're going through, though, don't they?
Absolutely, and I wouldn't say that they are in any way, shape, or form making it up or trying to fool themselves. I mean, as I mentioned the last time I was on talking about the old hag syndrome and that. I mentioned a dream that I have had a number of times where I seem to be waking up in some kind of bed on a metal plate thing that's lying in a domed room with lights at floor level all round with a kind of strange metallic sound. And for a long time, when the first time I dreamt it, I couldn't look at an ordinary plastic cup with water in. I used to get weird chills. Now, I could easily say that's some kind of alien abduction sort of suppressed memory, but I know for well it's not. It was just some kind of mad dream I had once that I couldn't shake off for a while. But I'm sure the people out there would say to me straight, oh, no, that's definitely abduction. You're having a memory recall of an abduction event. And who's to say they're wrong? But it just, to me, it doesn't feel real. You know what I mean? I can't prove or disprove it, but I could easily have gone on and wrote articles about my experience. I believe I had this experience. I can still picture the room in my head now, quite clear, quite detailed. Then I can do it about what I dreamt about last night, and I know that was just a dream. So you just really can't be sure, and I think that's the problem with this sort of stuff. Is I'd like to believe it, but there's just not enough evidence, and they're the big claims, and they've got to have big evidence to support those claims, and there just doesn't seem to be any.
Well, let's throw a bit of a spanner in the works, shall we?
Go on then.
You have all these. You have all these, paranormal topics, and they all say that somewhere along the line they do interlink. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, how do we know that, they say these aliens are intelligent? How do we know that the ghosts we are seeing aren't aliens looking at us as relatives or whatever?
You've been talking to Andy again, to Ashley again.
No, I haven't. No, I was just thinking, actually, if you think about the jinn, right, they believe that this is an evil spirit and it will come to you looking like your great uncle or whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
So how do we know that aliens aren't doing this sort of thing?
Well, as I've probably said before, for me, none of these things have... they're not totally objective, shall we say. They don't There exists in a third place, not as purely subconscious, not purely our imagination, not purely out there in the physical world as say you guys are. They exist as some kind of middle ground, which, you know, it requires our presence and our belief system to appropriate, to connect with those ideas, but they're not from our imagination. It's the best way to describe is what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious, the manifestations of archetypes in the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the single best explanation, because it doesn't require supernatural as such, doesn't require heaven, doesn't require alien planets and alien spaceships. It's just recognition that there are almost things living in our deep psyche that have a degree of independence from us, but not independent of us.
No.
They have a level of existence that is not corporeal, not physical. It's not in our realm, if you want, but it's in our deep unconscious. But it has to be triggered by external factors. So you see you see a ghost. You're not seeing an objective thing walking across the room in front of you. You are seeing something that's a deep image in your unconscious that's connected with the energies in the place, and the two combine to create this image that walks past you. I mean, again, it's like we could say to you, well, you've got these video footage and the audio clips you played a few weeks ago, you know, well, how would you explain those in those terms? Well, I'd say it's just that you could say that the mechanisms behind the equipment is capturing the energy, because they're all energy equipment anyway. You know, your camera's running, you know, it's using energy to run, and it could be that the energy from the camera is then feeding into the imagery that's making it actually be recorded. Is that making any bloody sense? I know what I'm trying to say.
You keep going, Andy, and we'll just turn the mics off and let you go.
I remember that. Yeah,
oh dear.
Third position between objective reality. I don't think there is such thing as objective reality at the end of the day. It's all interconnected energies. You well know what I've said before. And it's an illusion that we're all individually disconnected from each other. We are all just one mass of energy that's condensed to it forms or appears to form matter, but there's no difference.
Yeah, because they'll say, like, if, for instance, if you see a spirit of a relative, they come to you how they feel will be easy for you to acknowledge it, yeah? So how do we know they're not doing the same thing? You know what I mean? You know, maybe we have been visited by aliens.
But could that also be that because we smell something that relates to an image of a loved one, that our mind's not projecting that image, because the smell reacts to what we remember.
Could do.
If you smell something, you'll if you smell a smell that you're familiar with, you'll visualize that smell as an
I can say to you, the sense of smell is very powerful for triggering memories. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think a number of occasions where I've worked with people who've had unconscious memories come back to them because of a smell that they've sensed. This reminded them something the obvious. One of the things like school dinners, you know, something you feel a bit sick of, don't want to be there, and you think, well, what's that smell? Oh God, it's cabbage from school. I remember that.
Yeah.
If I walk down the street, I smell donuts sometimes. It reminds me of walking down Blackpool Promenade.
Yeah. I mean, we tend to ignore our sense of smell. We tend to favour sight and vision as being the most important sense that we have, but it's actually one of the weaker ones. Again, our sense of smell is nothing like as good as most animals, but it's still pretty powerful. Because it used to be how if you can't see or hear an animal that can attack you, you'll smell it. So you're relying on that sense as much as the other two to be shot, to be safe.
Well, talking just on your senses side of things, one of the concepts I used to look at, and I think thought about some while ago, was let's say the concept of thought. Somebody, someone's got a thought in the mind. It's like a sense that the smell and things like that. We all have thoughts. And sometimes we walk down the street and we have these thoughts just suddenly random pop into your head, and things like that. But where did they go when they leave the head? When they leave the mind? So
back into subconscious.
Well, exactly.
That one.
So I thought, could it be a possibility? It's only a random possibility that maybe thought, the projection of thought, can linger. I.e., so let's say somebody's walked down that street thinking, right, okay, this is what I need on my items of shopping list. I need sausages, and so they mentioned they're thinking of bird sausages. As they walk, somebody behind them suddenly walks into the same space where that person was a few minutes before, thinking of sausages, and suddenly thinks, "Oh, you know what? I just fancy a sausage sandwich," and that thought transfers to them regarding sausage sandwich. So on that level, could there, if that could be a possibility, could that also be the one that could be creating paranormal ghost-like?
Yeah,
events?
I would have no problem with that idea at all. Absolutely. I mean, again, I'm sure of Viscount, who's Yeah, trigger. Senses triggering memories via absolutely true. I mean, you and I both know that from our work as therapists. But certainly, yeah. I mean, you're triggering off memories very easily when you're working with somebody. You're trying to help them sort of not uncover lost memories, because these memories are never lost. I mean, the certain kind of memories I used to work with as a therapist were not lost memories. They were just suppressed or repressed, different processes going on. But they're always there under the surface. Just need to be connected with sometimes.
See, some people, again, they proclaim to be able to read other people's thoughts. Let's say Darren Brown and whoever out there, they can read, and thought projection. Let's say like telekinesis, and you've got the thought projection where people, are allegedly be able to move objects and things. So if that's the case, then thought can be, must be tangible to a degree.
Well, I'd certainly say that the number of times I've been able to predict what a client's about to say next without any real obvious reason why they would say it, a lot. When you do this for long enough, you do definitely get that kind of grey area between intuition and psychic awareness. I don't know which it really is, but I mean, you do get a sense of what people are going to say from face expressions, etc. But there are times when you can tell from the look on their face, with their eyes closed, that a thought has popped into their head, and you just know what's coming next. And so often it would be that is exactly what they said next. One client, particularly talking about thought projection, was incredible. He came for quite a while with a number of different issues. Whenever he hit anything traumatic in terms of a memory, my ceiling clicked quite loudly. It's something that I know that Carl Jung experienced when he was working. Particularly, he was discussing something with Freud on one occasion. It happened, and he said it'll happen again in a few seconds while that thought's floating around the room. And that's what happened. Every time I had a traumatic thought or memory came back to this particular guy, my ceiling had a loud click as if something was flicked against it. And that was really quite amazing.
It is. These are concepts that, it's how I look at things personally, not just thought, but anything like that. If anything's possible, then we can't dismiss the fact that it can't be. Well, people say no, it can't happen, or some people say yes, it can happen. The fact, if there's a possibility around anything, then it's surely it's a concept. Regards anything, can't be ignored, and obviously building on the possibilities.
What often worries me is you get sort of a slight possibility of something, like we're talking about possible failure, thought projection within a room with a couple of people having a conversation, and then to extrapolate from that some kind of vast conspiracy of aliens and monitoring our thoughts and belief systems, that kind of thing. It's like, it's an old saying from philosophy, my degree in philosophy, that how did you get there from here? You have to show how you've made that progression of ideas from one point to the other. And if you can't show the progression of ideas, then you're just making it up and you're just jumping forward. You have to show the progression. And that's when these ideas often fall down. Just because 1 and 1 makes 2, 2 and 2 make 4, doesn't mean the 5 and 6 make 300,000. It's just the number of progression has to work. You can't just sort of jump forward to another point and say, well, that's because this bit kind of works, therefore that bit must also work. That's what I was trying to get at about the idea that, what was being said earlier on I was found absolutely fascinating, but then all this kind of dark conspiracy stuff started to emerge again. I thought, oh no, here we go again. Why do these ideas have to be connected together? I just felt a bit despairing of the kind of, I mean, I don't really use a word, but paranoia is what comes to mind when you hear this sort of thing.
I think a lot of times it's because people don't know what it's about, what it's happening, why it's happening. They put things in that make sense to them.
Yeah, he might be experiencing something manifested from the collective unconscious as an archetype force coming through, which is what I would offer as an explanation. But then it moves forward into Illuminati conspiracies and chemtrails in the sky. I mean, why do these ideas always get thrown together? As I said before, I mean, you guys know I'm fascinated by the occult. I've been studying it for decades. But the one area of the occult that I have no interest in is astrology. I'm just not convinced by it. So I don't investigate that area, except that particular bit has to work. You don't, because I believe one doesn't mean I believe all of it.
There's certain things tend to make sense, and could it be a possibility that things that make sense to us because we're adapted and we're trained to to understand that they make sense, but there's certain things out there that don't make sense could actually hold the real answers.
Oh yeah, I mean, we have things intuitively make sense that are actually completely logical, and at the same token actually work. I mean, the classic example is the flying bumblebee. I mean, according to aerodynamics, the bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly because of the way its body moves and the way its wings move. It shouldn't be able to fly. yet it's flying. Does that mean the bumblebee is supernatural, or maybe there's something wrong with our ideas of aerodynamics? There's a small fault in it somewhere. But that doesn't mean to say all aerodynamics should be thrown out the window because the one bit of it isn't quite working properly.
Well,
that's the kind of point I'm trying to get at.
Well, look at a jumbo jet. There's no reason why that should stay up there.
Yeah, well, no, again, there is these perfectly normal, logical, physical factors going on. The thrust is sufficient to keep it buoyant in the air.
And weight ratio and all the rest of it. But
it works, but the bumblebee just doesn't work. According to our understanding of aerodynamics, it doesn't work. Anyway, guys, listen, I'm going to have to shoot off.
Went quiet then.
I'm going to shoot off soon because it's a school day tomorrow.
We have to leave pregnant pauses so people can think about what we just said.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Don't get too pregnant, will you?
Pregnant pauses.
Yes.
That's I like that.
Right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Andy.
Yeah, well, I threatened I might ring in, so I did warn you.
Yeah, you did. So
you're welcome anytime, mate.
Okay, guys. Well, listen, I'm definitely going to try to get up to you some point in the summer once this course is finished. So I'll be live in the hub one of these days, and they'll get to see me think, oh, that's what it looks like.
Yes. So, well, we need you to come back and talk about another subject anyway.
Oh, yeah. I'll talk about the folk history and the folk magic I've been investigating as well at some point.
Okie dokie.
Right, I didn't talk about it just yet, but it's something I'm definitely working on at the moment. So, okay.
Okay then, babe. Speak to you soon.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye, Andy.
So, as you see, there was another topic I sort of put in there on the off chance, you know what I mean? Because you never know, do you? You really never know what's actually going around in the world. It could be anything.
It could be, but I mean, a thought occurred to me while you were all waffling on about the mind and things like that.
Yeah.
And the way people think and everything. We're still talking about energy.
Well, we are. It's all about energy at the end of the day.
I mean, thoughts and stuff in your body and nerves, it's all energy travelling through, isn't it?
This is it.
It's just, we're just plugs into the electric current, aren't we? That's all we are, really. It's just energy, pure energy all the way through. Obviously, like you said, we've got the vessel that we've got to use. But then, you got I look at it, you got your brain. I think the real part of who we are is your actual mind. It's the mind is the most powerful concept that we have. People think the inner core of us is our brains and things like that, but inside the brain is where the mind exists.
It's true. I mean, you got people that, for one reason or other, and through no fault of their own, are disabled. Got a club foot or something. Anything that's just because one part of the brain wasn't wired right to fix it in the first place.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a lot of that can be genetics. It's usually genes and things that's passed down, and things like that. And then and other things could be illnesses, during pregnancies, rubella, and things like that. So there's different attributes that sort of add to it. But people always find a way. That's the resilience about people. We adapt. We adapt to things, and we always go forward with things, and that's just how we are. We're very resilient.
We are, and unfortunately, I am of the view that if anything ends this world, it's going to be us.
Well,
because we don't seem to know how to put the brakes on.
You mean ending the world?
Yeah.
That'll definitely that will be man-made. Yeah, it will be man-made.
Because you can't put the brakes on.
People jump at the chance to.
Try something new.
Yeah, when it's quiet, when we've got quiet periods, whoever the powers that be, they've got the warmongers, whoever that be, they're twiddling their thumbs. Propaganda starts issuing. They want to just, they just pick on someone, just throw a stone at somebody there and go, "Hey, what did you just call me?" Whatever. Just propaganda, just to kick off a little bit of, and that's just. It's always been like that. And it always will be, because I'm, my dad's bigger than your dad. No, my dad's bigger than yours. No, that type of thing. It's all that type of thing. And we never actually grow up from that. But for these people, they're there behind closed doors, and and it's the smaller people out there who actually have to go out and do it. But the big hard men who hide behind the offices, they've never seen a day's action in their life. They wouldn't know. They don't know what a gun looked like if it's.
They wouldn't know one end from the other.
But you take them out of the safe equation of the little hide holes, with all the electronic equipment and all their general advisors, and stick them in the front line, give them a rifle, they'd be completely different people, and they would certainly, they wouldn't last 5 minutes. They don't know the reality and the harshness of it, but yet these people and that's how it'll go. But you're right. That's how it'll end through our own doing. And plus, I think as well, technology is moving too quick.
Well,
I think that is as
which
well.
also brings me to something I can't remember what it's called. It's
Singularity.
No, there's a thing on Facebook, and our Ashley's put me onto it a while back. It's something of light where they're saying that aliens are actually coming to us to prevent us being stupid enough to end everything.
Thing is, people are stupid enough to end everything.
Yeah,
we're sensible enough to.
Yeah, but they're also saying ultimately, if we don't do it, they will.
We're sensible enough
to stop us. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, humans are sensible enough to organise their own stupidity.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, we're sensible enough to promote our own stupidity into doing these things because these people, if let's say someone's going to cause a war in that faction, they know that person's going to be saved by being put in a bunker. Why would they put them in a bunker? They'd be completely useless. If you put whoever it is in a bunker, and let's say the world went wallop, gone, they're going to come out to what? A knackered civilization with nothing. Then what they're going to do? Are they going to start procreating and building? And are they going to start rolling their sleeves up and start?
Wrong people, isn't it?
They're not going to do it. You want people like you and me and females and children and teachers and doctors and scientists. You don't want politicians. Politicians of who? Why are they hiding in the book? No, they should be on the front line. If they're causing it, then they should be the ones to suffer the wrath of it. Not us. So, but that's how it will go, And then what will happen? Then it'll be a world of ghosts. How do you know it hasn't already happened? And we're actually already the ghostly figurines.
The moment you said the world of ghosts, I knew it was coming.
Well,
there you go.
You don't know.
Projected thought, I caught it.
If you look at it in this in this scenario, let's say if you see a general person sees a ghost, so allegedly, so they got this ghost. Now, this ghost, let's say it doesn't see them, but you see them. So the ghost doesn't see them because it sees its surroundings in its own environment from its own day. Let's say
from what it remembers.
Yeah, how it was. Yeah. So to that entity, everything around it is familiar, and so it's carrying on its day-to-day thing, or whatever it's doing, while the window of opportunity has come over to our way, and we've had a glimpse. Now, if that ghost if we can see that ghost, then maybe that that entity can see us, and yet we are still living in our own world in a familiar grounds and doing what we're doing. And we'll look at that and think, "Whoa, that's wrong. That's a ghost. That's not normal." But that would look at us and think the same thing. It'd think we're aliens.
So you're talking cross dimensions.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you saw a ghost, you think, "That's a ghost." If that's so, but we would recognise it maybe because of the old-fashioned dress. Now, a ghost would see us and think they wouldn't look at us as a ghost. They would think that we were demons or aliens because of how we were dressed, because we'd never seen that.
But that leads you on to another thought that if you're seeing people from the future who are wearing shiny one-piece suits, which is what we now look at when we see aliens, that kind of thing is what we suspect.
Exactly.
Connect to aliens.
So therefore, if that ghost living in, let's say 1829 is a ghost, and we've just seen it in this building, we can see it, and that ghost is living in its own environment, doing what we're doing, and then we are doing what we're doing in our own environment. But they see us, they're seeing people from the future. We see people from the future, so therefore, could we be also ghosts, living in our own environment, just doing day to day without realising what's going on? There's just so many concepts. I mean, not saying that's it's certainly a thing that we can't discuss.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to be ghosts. We could just, like we said, just cross dimensions.
Yeah.
And I can't believe I just discussed something in quantum physics.
Well, with quantum physics, it's good. I mean, because it gets your teeth rattling, it gets your brain blood curdling, it gets your brain going, and then while discussing it and you're looking at it, and you look at theories start to be. They give birth to theories. Theories are born.
Stop.
Sorry.
Because I know Emma wants to say something.
If I did, I can't remember what it was.
No, he just wants me to shut up because I wobble on.
No,
I'm wobbling.
I was just wondering what her perspective or thoughts are on what we just said.
You covered a lot of ground there. We
did a bit, yeah.
How do we know that everybody here is not just a figure of your imagination? And everybody that I've seen and ever done is just a figure of my imagination. See, there's a million and one concepts of different things.
I hate to say this, but I slept with my imagination the other day, and it definitely wasn't.
I beg your pardon. Well, that's a whole new topic, I think.
But he's just said.
Tune in next week.
But he's just said that we don't know that you could be a figure of my imagination, and yet I know we went to bed the other day.
Okay.
Well, some people have said this before, that everything could just be the result of one person's imagination. To me, it's very real. Life is very real, so therefore everything could be just my imagination helping me soldier through life as you do.
But,
who knows?
But are we talking about the God prospect?
Well, yeah. Or if you get a drop of water, and we put a drop of water on the floor there, you know, we walk over that drop of water. This is where I say that my concept of travelling faster than light, right?
Couldn't.
Can we move faster than light? Yes, we can, to a degree. The reason why is, if you get a drop of water and you put it on the floor, you get a microscope and look inside that drop of water, you'll see thousands and thousands of microbes. Yeah. That's life. It's not life as we are, but it's life nonetheless. Now, so we can travel fast. Now, for that little creature or microbe inside that drop of water would probably be like us living in a domed city or something, or maybe a whole planet.
So what you're saying is when they see us, we're moving so fast. So
well, they probably might not see us, but for one little microbe to get from one side to the other side of that little drop of water might take it an entire lifetime. But yet, in the blink of an eye, without thinking about it, we've just stepped over it. So, although we're not travelling any faster, to that microbe, if it could see us, we're travelling faster than the speed of light. So, in essence, you know,
it's all down to your concept of time, isn't it?
It's all down to concept, but you see, that's in size categories. So, in essence, you are travelling not to ourselves, but to other forms of life. You are.
Well,
you know, and things may go faster than us.
You start talking about the concept of time to yourself. Then you start getting into the possibility, as Einstein said, of time travel.
The continuum.
But having said that, from what I understand, he's not actually talking about time travel. He's talking about a bend in time, like a river, where it bends. You don't suddenly shoot there; you shoot across.
Like folding.
Yeah, folding.
The thing is, look at our capabilities now as well. If you look, let's say, providing the humanity is still around in that long time, had another 1,000 years from now, from where we are now, imagine the capabilities. If we haven't burnt ourselves out, but look at the capabilities.
In 1,000 years' time, I'm definitely a figment of your imagination.
Well, I'll still be here because I've lived forever. You know, they'll even turn that large halogen collider into some beam that can take a photo. Now, that would be. Now, this is another concept that I had a long time ago. Now, people might think I'm crazy, but the only reason they'll think I'm crazy is because it can't happen now, because we haven't got the ability or we haven't got the concept. One day in the future, who knows, to take a photograph back in time of an event in time, right? If we can send beams, let's say we've got the Large Hadron Collider, and if we can, experiment with the God particle, the Higgs and boson, and things like that. Certainly, we can adapt things like that to be able to send, let's say, radio signals. We send the radio signal at space takes 40 years to get where they go or whatever and coming back. Maybe one day we could shoot an infinite beam that sort of.
Sorry, I'm laughing at drag count.
Oh, is he right? Is he right about me on there? Is he?
Yeah, you're going deep.
You're going deep.
What's the joints?
Well, yeah. Well, this is me, and this is why I come up with theories. This is what keeps it going. But so let's say you took a photograph, and you could shoot a beam, and you think, right, where would that beam get its energy from? Because if it had to go back in time, where does it get energy from? Adapted to the environmental conditions, the environment, or channeling the energies of the universe and things like that. Could you imagine actually taking a photograph of biblical days, and then that being brought back in a beam particle, and then and then re-scrambled just a signal, and actually seeing a picture of Jesus at the Last Supper or something like that. Just a theoretical. I know it's very, very deep.
It would have to bounce back off something in that time frame, though, wouldn't it?
In time,
like a satellite.
Things would happen. Yeah. You go back 1,000 years from back in time. Who the hell, if somebody was sat there and said, well, can you imagine people sitting in a hub talking down a microphone, talking to people on the other side of the world, this internet is transferring things across the world at lightning speeds.
But it's bouncing off satellites, isn't it?
It's bouncing on satellites.
So you'd have to have the equivalent in, say, Jesus' time. Something. It'd have to be something that could bounce. It could bounce.
We might
back.
not be capable at this moment in time.
We would have to be talking about minerals.
Yeah, minerals.
Yeah,
crystalline structures, minerals, atmospheric conditions. You know, and all this. Even maybe using planets to bounce things off, or who knows? You know, the structure. You know, the lime, sandstone, all these type of things. Because we're not physically capable. Well, what's you putting on there?
Don't indulge him too much.
Well, Mr. Viscount, because we have to be larger-minded, because we cannot figure to do this at this moment in time, doesn't mean to say that we cannot maybe at some stage in the future, and somebody sometime has to sit down and these dreams get put out there and think, and that's the way forward. Somebody else will hear that, and that'll get carried down the lines in 1,000 years' time from now. Bump. You know, we're done. Who knows?
Maybe you should copyright this now. You know.
This is my idea, so I said it first. And if anybody's got any antidepressants or Valium they'd like to supply me, I think I need it.
Well, if there's one place you would like to go, whether that be somewhere you know exists for whatever reason, what would it be?
Sorry, I was just reading that as Chris got the minerals. Well, yeah, but I don't know. Sorry, what did you say, Steve?
If there's one place you would like to go for whatever reason, where would it be? Whether you've got proof that it exists or not.
You mean like in nowadays or future or back in time? Now. Where would I like to go? On the Earth, obviously.
Obviously.
Anyway. Probably. I don't know, because there's a lot of places. I like history. I love the medieval, so you probably, I don't know, maybe Roman Colosseum or something like that, or I don't know, because all the gladiators that died in there as well. So I'd love to do an investigation in the Roman Colosseum. You know, can you imagine that? You know, maybe something like something that it's seen. You know. Seen turmoil, it's seen blood, sweat, tears, it's seen the energy of people there. And I don't know, it just means things to me. But yeah, probably Roman Colosseum or something like that.
Emma?
So a time period I'd like to go back to travel back to.
Place, time, anything.
Tudor times, I think. Yeah.
Henry VIII was not a nice guy.
You couldn't get a good kebab from there.
Tudor London, I'd love to walk through Tudor London. Or Victorian London.
Well, Victorian London would probably be a lot safer than Tudor London.
I don't know. Jack the Ripper was about in those days.
Yes, but Tudor is a cesspit.
Well, so was the East End in those days, though, in the Victorian times.
Well, to me, I would. Well, sort of before me. What about you, Sue?
What's that?
What's that? She's been busy.
Sorry,
That's a correction. We can travel back in time there, Mr. Mercer. We can look at ourselves back on photographs, and we can look at ourselves back on celluloid film.
But that's a memory, not actual travelling.
Yeah, but we're moving on these films, so technically you are, and you really, when you watch that film, suddenly you start to remember. Oh God, do you remember that? Do you remember? Oh yeah, it was yesterday. We start to remember it. So technically, you're looking at yourself back in time, and your memory is going back in time. So even though it's not time traveling back in time, as we would think about it.
But is that the memory of the memory?
It's a part of, and it's a concept of doing it. And we will live forever on celluloid.
Yeah. I mean, my place would be, for the want of a better name of it, Warehouse 13.
Warehouse 13.
Yeah, similar like the Indiana Jones, the big thing in what's supposed to be an Area 51, where they've stuck everything that they've found and has been invented and won't let us have it. Because to me, by rights, if you take the oil people and the money people out of the loop, we would be so much further ahead than we are now.
Yeah. You would. I mean, there's so many things, isn't there? I mean, if we could go back in time or wherever, there's just so much to do. There's so much history. There's so
the
much.
Alexandrian libraries. When Alexandria got burnt down, the Great Library of Alexandria got destroyed, and all the books and all the manuscripts got lost.
All the scrolls and stuff.
Ancient knowledge, and can you imagine
or watching the people who
there are fragments that were saved, but can you imagine what was lost?
Having said that, there is...
Or the Vatican Library, now to get into that place.
There is... that's the place to get into, but you need to be well into your history for that one. As for the scrolls and the Dead Sea Scrolls and the likes, if parts of what's been said is to be believed, the Illuminati and the Masons and that already saved them and hid them somewhere.
I'd like to see the people who built the Sphinx, because do you know that the
I'd
Sphinx
like to see how they built it.
The head isn't as old as so some people used to say it's apparently older than the ancient Egyptians themselves. The Sphinx apparently. And
Isn't Cleopatra's closer to our days than the Sphinx?
Well, some people thought it was. They sort of say it's like Atlanteans, lost city of Atlantis, and all that. And the actual Sphinx's head wasn't obviously a lion or something.
So it was reformed over the years.
The Egyptians
into what we see today.
Changed it into something a bit more appealing, but it's older than the Egypt apparently. So and also in between, is it in between the feet or the paws? Of it is supposed to be some chamber.
Oh, so they say.
Are they still taking the mickey out of me out there?
No, Andy said that if you went back, he'd like to see who shot JFK.
That'd be interesting.
Who was the sniper on the grassy mound?
There's some chamber in between the paws, apparently, that they reckon contains scrolls. Now, I don't know how they know this if they've never been down. And if they go down, then that gives you the answer to everything.
Derek Okura told them.
He probably did, but
I remember that show.
Do you remember that show when he did the edition? He actually said that the library is there. They just got to find a way into it because they still haven't found it yet.
But they're not allowed to dig, are they?
No.
Well, this coming from a person.
But there's supposed to be secret chambers from the Sphinx to the pyramids.
Yeah.
So the chambers are there. They just haven't found them yet.
But that's coming from a person, and I take full responsibility. Me, Chris Andrews, nobody else, for that. That's who has to cancel a live show because Sam's ill.
When did he say that?
Yeah, that's true. That.
Right. Okay.
But that's my saying. Nobody else's.
We're going to have to come back to the talk on the Ouija boards another time now.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes. Because
board.
time is fleeting.
We waffled.
We did. So and.
Yeah, Andy's just said that his mate Andy Collins has been working on it for years, long before Mr. Okura.
And he said if at some point in the future we did invent a way to travel back in time, then they would have already arrived here by now. And the fact that if you could go back in time, you would actually effectively change the future.
You would.
If I could go back in time, I wouldn't have put these shoes on.
But what you said there is true, because the moment you change something in the past, completely destroys your here and now.
How do we know that it hasn't already been done?
We don't. That's another discussion.
Another discussion, yes.
Coming soon.
Well, next week, if you'd like to join us, we will have Stephen Graham on the show from the Paranormal World, and he also does ghost tours at Craigienos. So he will be talking to us about his time within the paranormal as an investigator, plus the ghosts and hauntings of Craigienos that's situated between Swansea and Brecon within the Brecon Beacons National Park. Show starts at 8 o'clock. Interview is at 8:30 with Stephen.
Yeah, isn't the castle also known as the Rock? Yes.
The Black Rock. Okay, so that's what's coming up next week. So I'm sure you'll be with us, won't you, Chris?
Providing I'm not being sued for my comments before, yes.
So I've
got nothing to sue me for. I've got nothing. You can have it all.
I had a look at Stephen's pictures and picked one that I thought was really nice. I've got
one of him in a bikini.
I nearly picked one that he took of a selfie of him for cancer, but I thought no, he wouldn't appreciate that.
Not without his eyeliner.
Can we have the bikini one for the poster, please?
Oh yeah, he's got a mankini. And ask him about GTA.
Would that be all right?
And salt and pepper.
Isn't that right, Mister? The little salt and pepper numbers and GTA and the dolphin numbers. But that's a show that is past the watershed mark. for that.
I don't know.
But we know, don't we?
That's basically it for now, I'm afraid. And if you are listening to us on Radio Replay, please remember that we are here in our home, in our own spare time, doing our own thing, and trying to bring information and topics to you, our listeners. And I also want to say hi again to Chris Mack in London, listening on YouTube, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Isn't that right, Steve?
That is right indeed. And as usual, there's only one thing left to say.
Yes, so we're ready. Keep the paranormal friendly. Good night and God bless.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
This is where it's at.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.